Keep your comments real, because Nathan wants to keep this shorter, and it's a long presentation to begin with. So try to be. I don't want to take anything from you. I mean, if you got something to say, and you're going to have something to say, but try to keep them concise. Pretty pleased with sugar on top.
That's going to be tough for me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
Really easy for me.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not gonna, whip you or anything. Just keep that in mind.
Oh, you're in a holding pen.
I think I have an impeccable record so far.
When the night comes calling. I think we're good. I gotta brush my teeth. I can knock a buzzard off a shit wagon.
Oh god, there we go again.
Right,
All right, I'll be right back.
see how that looks. Right, I'm recording now, so that it's rolling. Just check. Hold on. Just so you know, I'm now recording. FYI. We're not live yet. We will be in 7 minutes.
We got a little echo.
A little echo?
There was for a second. There was a echo of what you were saying, but it was real quiet. But it seems to be gone now.
Okay. Everyone turn their speakers down if they've not got headphones on. Didn't get a chance to watch Iron Realm last night. Adam, how did it go?
It was a quiet evening. What did we moan about? YouTube. Walt was giving it the fuck you, YouTube scenario. So we were discussing that and alternative platforms for a bit. There was a phrase I'd come across with regards to Hebrew translation of the first phrase in the Bible, which I thought was quite interesting. So I came across it. It was Michael Zarian, and he was just talking about it in something other context, but he just kind of mentioned it in that, and I just thought it was quite interesting the way it changed the meaning, not meaning, but kind of strengthened it, clarified it a little bit. I don't know if anyone saw it, that it was...
No, I missed it. Was it basically a gap theory between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2?
It was based on the premise, and you'll have to excuse the language I use here, that ancient Hebrew text should, when correctly divine, spiritual, whatever it is, should begin with the Aleph. And I think the current version begins with BE, Bay or something, or bar in terms of in. I think he was suggesting that if you have the Aleph there, it becomes Abba, as in Abba Father. So the first bit becomes the Father of all beginnings, created the Elohim and the heavens and the earth.
I'd be asking about, compared to the other ancient witnesses like the Syriac or the Peshitta or the Septuagint. The Septuagint, I know, just starts out pretty much the standard, when God began creating, something of that order. And the Septuagint. Oh, go ahead.
Is Randy here?
That was rude.
That was rude. Oh, Nathan calling me rude. It's probably rude then.
See if I can find it.
Oh, I was listening to that. Carry on, Paula.
I'm sorry. I just busted. I just came back. Sorry. Go ahead.
What was I saying? No, the Septuagint for words for God is always theos, everywhere, theos. The other word is kurios for Lord. It doesn't differentiate between all the other words unless it spells it out as a sentence, like what the word means, like the master of heaven's armies or something like that. Just another consideration when people are interpreting the Hebrew, to look at all the other witnesses and see, for example, if the Septuagint was one of the earliest translations of it, then how it took those words is pretty important, because if there was a proper name of God, the translators didn't care about it. They just said generic words for God. So it's telling us something about whether those were actual names and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interesting things going on.
I'll read it. It said the original, I think, reads Bar Rashit Bara Elohim Eth Ha Shechem Wa'ef Ha Aris. With the beginning being Bar Rashit, being in the beginnings. But like I said, if you put that Aleph in front of it, it read Father of the beginnings, created.
Did he cite any sources for putting the A there?
Well, no, he did. Like I said, it was a small part, just as an adjunct within something he was saying. So that's why I put it out there, just to see if there's any. Because he's well read, Michael Sorry, and he's not. He wouldn't think that. I would imagine he's got it. So it was just to see if it's out there, because Zach's been chatting about Elohim and its meaning, whether it is the name of God or gods, whether it's plural or whether it means the powers. So we've just been discussing that. So it was just something curious that came up. But if you've got any links that can clarify that. I
can't. The reason I ask is I'm not familiar with putting the A on the front of it, but even so, it doesn't materially change the meaning of the text. I mean, we still have God identified in it, and it's like I said, the Septuagint uses theos throughout, the Old Testament.
Yeah, that's why I corrected myself. It doesn't change the meaning. Like I said, it added clarity. So it doesn't change that God created the heavens and the earth.
Right.
But it changes the context of what Elohim is used in, so that it's used as a beginning of the creations that God used to create everything. So instead of it being in the beginning God, as in Elohim creates the heaven and the earth, it's the Father of the beginnings creates the Elohim and the heavens of the earth. And in this case, meaning that the Elohim is meaning the powers. This is an alternative translation for Elohim, which makes a bit more sense because Elohim is plural in of itself.
Well, I would have to consult the other language, the versions of it, because they always take those together, take them as a group to try to get at the original Hebrew, the Paleo Hebrew. And Elohim, one thing I know is in the passage where Moses is at the burning bush and he says, Elohim, what is your name? And Yahweh answers, I am who I am. That Yahweh is a kind of an acronym for that, and says, I am the God, the Theos in Greek, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so he identifies himself by whose God he is. And Elohim, in that usage where Moses says, Elohim, what's your name? Elohim obviously isn't his name, but he's addressing the one God speaking to him as Elohim. So that to me tells me that Elohim is like the way we use the word God. It was a generic term, and there's some support for that.
Welcome to BALLBUSTERS Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we are joined by Betty, Paula, Adam, and Quantum Eraser. Very good to have you all.
Hello. Thanks.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
Ahoy, hoy.
Hello, hello. So we're going to be covering the best bit of flat Earth, which is the proofs of flat Earth. So as the title suggests, that's precisely what we're going to be covering today. It's going to be a roller coaster. So if you're not familiar with flat Earth proofs, these are, without shame or any indulgences beyond what they are, brilliant. They are fantastic. So everyone's going to love them. So where do we start? John?
Well, thank you. Are we going to start already?
Yeah, definitely. Let's get straight into it. There's people out there keen to see flat Earth proof.
No chit chat. I'm liking it. All right. Well, first off, these proofs are not scientific evidences. Why? Well, what have we talked about for the past 8 months? Is the Earth flat or is the Earth a sphere? Well, those are what is questions. The scientific method only deals with cause and effect, how I question. So this is off the table with scientific evidence. So like I said, it's not as sexy as scientific evidence, but it's got teeth. So where do we want to begin? Let's start with, I know where to start. I've given this presentation to 3 astrophysicists, a physics teacher, we all know who that is. And you know what I've gotten back besides name calling from the first 2 astrophysicists? Zippo, nada, nothing. I also, as we are always challenged by the Globetards, is to give them, give me your proofs of the flat Earth. So obviously I got that thousands of times. And a few months ago, one of the Balltards, challenged me with it. And I said, no problem. I said, here you go. Here's the video of the last time we did these proofs. And just, check it out at your leisure and get back with me. Right? So a week passed and I challenged the person back again. I said, well, have you watched them? The answer was, and we'll keep all names out of this to protect the guilty, I don't watch scary movies. So that's where we're at here. These people are not going to watch this because it's over. That's it. So let's begin. So let's define drop, because of the first 2 proofs, this is going to become critical. And I don't know, like I said before, we talked about this before. It seems that the Balltard spinning space monkeys have forgotten this. It's one of the critical, crucial tenets of their religion. It's vertical drop. Every point along a tangent from your feet drops. That is, vertical drops away from you at 8 inches per mile squared. Right? Yeah, it's almost shocking. Some people, you say this and they get that deer in the headlights look, like they ever heard of it. I mean, hello. So, and to say dropping vertical or vertically, it's kind of painfully redundant, right? Well, what other way are you going to drop? So from dictionary.com, let's take a look at this. Drop, to fall vertically, have an abrupt descent. From Oxford Dictionary's drop, let or make something fall vertically. So height, altitude, elevation mean vertical distance. Vertical, elevation, vertical drop. I don't know why we have to keep on going over this, but we do. Now, the first proof, flight. This is the one I always lead out with when I'm talking to people. Why? Because it's the easiest. Most people have taken flights before, right? An incoherent 2nd grader can reconcile this quite quickly. By the way, you'll never see this. This shouldn't happen on a sphere Earth. This plane is level. Shouldn't happen. So it's already, we could stop right here. Nah, we'll continue. So, since the Earth is, as we're told, a sphere 25,000 miles in circumference, radius 3959 miles, then pilots traveling for 1 hour at a typical cruising speed of 500 miles per hour to simply maintain altitude would constantly have to adjust their altitude downwards, to compensate for the curvature and descend on average 2,789 feet every single minute. How'd we get there? Well, how many miles of vertical drop that's geometric must be negotiated over a distance of 500 miles on a ball with a circumference of 25,000 miles? Answer, 31.7 miles. How many feet are in 31.7 miles? Answer, 167,376 feet. So, 167,376 feet of vertical drop must be negotiated over 500 miles on Earth. Number one, real world. I'm traveling by commercial flight from Pittsburgh to Atlanta, Georgia for the Super Bowl. Approximate distance, 500 miles. Typical cruising speed, 500 miles per hour. So 500-mile distance at 500 miles per hour. Travel time equals 1 hour. So how many feet of vertical drop per minute on average needs to be negotiated on my trip? Total feet, vertical drop over 500 miles. Again, 167,376 feet. Travel time is 1 hour. It's a simple calculation. 167,376 feet divided by 60 minutes. Answer, 2,789.6 feet. Vertical drop per minute average must be negotiated on my trip. Does this happen? No. The nose on a plane on a typical flight would never get above horizontal, save for takeoff. The sphere is a stone cold fairy tale. B, let's try another example. How many miles of vertical drop, that's geometric, must be negotiated over a distance of 1,000 miles on a ball with a circumference of 25,000 miles? Answer, 128.3 miles. How many feet are in 128.3 miles? Answer, 600,707,424 feet. So 600,777 or 600,077,424 feet of vertical drop must be negotiated over 1,000 miles on Earth. Another real world example. I'm traveling by commercial plane from Pittsburgh to Dallas. Approximate distance, 1,000 miles. Typical cruising speed, 500 miles per hour. So 1,000-mile distance at 500 miles per hour. Travel time of 2 hours equals 120 minutes. So question, how many feet of vertical drop per minute on average needs to be negotiated on my trip? Total feet vertical drop over 1,000 miles is 167,376 feet. Travel time, 2 hours. Simple calc. 600,077,424 feet divided by 120 minutes. Answer, 5,645 feet of vertical drop over a mile drop per minute average must be negotiated by the plane on my trip. It's just that simple. Does this happen? No, of course it doesn't. Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the honorable ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. Simple. You live in a fairy tale. The end. That's it. Comments, questions?
I don't have any. It's dead easy. I mean, it's often I'm not a pilot, but from my understanding, they have to slightly angle up, unless I'm very much mistaken.
No, you're not mistaken.
Paula, ladies first.
No, not really. I just pointing out the obvious that if a plane is angling up to get lift, it's still going straight and level. It's just, because the plane can be at any angle and still be going forward. So people get confused about that sometimes. But other than that, nope.
Betty?
Yeah, I've seen rebuttals on this topic, and they do something with the equation. And yeah, I'm not a mathematician, and I have problems with numbers. So I know that they do something in a different order, and they say that it only drops for far less And I think that you encountered that, John, with these mathematicians that say that it doesn't work, that you calculated it wrong.
Yeah, there isn't too much of a calculation. It's feet divided by minutes, right? Taking a
They
look
do a
at their
different
vertical.
order, I think, right?
This is the order. There is no other order.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is they screw up the 8 inches per mile squared, and they take it 8 inches per mile. They forget to square the miles. That's what they do. Yeah, I remember it now. Yeah, so it's 8 inches per mile.
Yeah, maybe it's better to address this right away before you have to go over these comments again and people doing this all over again.
Yeah, I think we remember them doing that. That's exactly what they do. So they think they live on a slope.
Alrighty. Adam, you got anything?
Yeah, I'd probably be a little contentious here. The numbers are right when you apply it. It's the application and the subdivision into a point. But I don't want to get into too much criticism of the numbers. I think you can do that. If I could share screens for a second, part of the trouble of taking an average over a long flight is you make an assumption that you need to do that every minute based on the length of the flight, but it doesn't quite work like that in terms of time and travel. What does accumulate rather than is angle, and I did a presentation on that based on accelerometer data to kind of show that the flight was level. As you mentioned, there is a slight incline of between 2 and 3 degrees in an airplane, and it's the angular incline. Because, like I say, you can argue the statistics because any statistic you take, if you was to take, say, just over a 2-mile flight, then the amount of drop is less. But that's actually all you need to do is readjust every 2 miles by nosing down. And if you did that every 2 miles, you can negate because you reset the drop. But so I obviously was aware of that argument with regards to those statistics quoted and wanted to first of all make sure that there was no nose downing. Can I share screen for a second, Nath? Is that?
Yeah, of course you can. Just give me a second. You go ahead. I'll set up while you set up, if you know what I mean.
How do you share screen on? Yeah, is it?
Slick.
I forgot. We don't use thingy, do we? Start recording. That's that. Share screen. There we go. That's terrible. Okay, so it's
Yep,
as
you're
I
on.
said, look. Okay, so I kind of said like the way a plane flies is with an angle of attack. So I basically took a load of accelerometer data on a flight to Italy over 2 hours to just make sure that there was no nose downing, which is the important point with regards to this to reset. If you look at if I just play it from here. Can you see the slides there, Nathan?
Yeah, all looks good.
Okay, so I didn't intend to do this. So obviously if we're flying across a plane, the plane just flies straight across in that direction. And there's no angular change with regards to wherever the plane is across its flight when you traverse across a flat plane. The same is not true when you're traversing with the ground curving away from a central, to a central point. So the starting point, gravity is orientated, and I know you'll have to excuse the phraseology, but we're in this mythical world now, which is just to deal with curve. But you can see that what tends to happen is there will be a reorientation, and that's after 1,000 kilometers, you're going to get a 9-degree incline. And that's roughly what I flew, which is quite a significant point. So you can talk statistically in terms of that. But with all of those stats, you kind of have to bear in mind when you're talking drop per minute, it is kind of arguable. I can, from a geeky stats point of view, agree with the criticism, which is why I kind of did that kind of viewpoint of it, that what was important was how actually, if in straight and level flight, if it was, the Earth was curving underneath, no matter what they say, you know, there would be a change in inclination because the plane stays in this basic orientation.
Cool.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What do you mean by reset, and what do you mean by statistical?
So, if, for example, you were on a 1,000-kilometer flight, and if after 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles even, you know, every 10 miles you nose down, 0.9 of a degree, that would therefore reset and create a realignment with the plane, nosing down, so that it was once again flying perpendicular to the supposed shape of the Earth, because the shape of the Earth has changed underneath it. It's no longer perpendicular from the start because it's curved away. Then you would need a 0.9 degree turn after 10 kilometers or so, 100 kilometers. You'd need a 0.9 nose down to realignment. That realignment would then kind of reset the ball curvature calculation, because you've realigned, and that's part of the argument that it's set that pilots or ballers would use in saying why that doesn't happen, because it auto realigns. But the point that negates that is that it can only auto realign if you physically nose down. And in straight and level flight, and from the accelerometer data I took there, it shows that the plane always stays between 1 and 3 degrees in an upward incline. It never ever nose down. So therefore you negate the argument that it's any realignment correction to reset the maths.
Yeah. You're talking about a linear drop. This isn't linear, for one thing, and the plane's nose never goes down. So, and you know, unless you're landing.
It's not linear. It's based on the assumption that the down, for want of a better phrase, would actually change as you flew across the flat plane. It down doesn't change its orientation relative to the aeroplane, which is in a separate reference frame and maintaining straight and level flight. However, with regards to down, when you're traversing across a supposed ball which is falling away from you and reorientating down back towards the center of the supposed ball, then the actual direction relative to this plane, which is in fixed and level flight, reorientates backwards. So the net effect would be that your passenger, you see, look, as you go around, the net center of gravity reorientates based on your traversement. And therefore, the way in which the passenger would experience this would be a ever-increasing steepening field in the plane. But that's not. I'll
tell you what, Adam. Let's just stop with this right here. Let's talk about this in the after show, because that's preposterous.
It was to back you up in terms of the statistics. Was the point is that it isn't reset.
The key bit that I took was when you actually were on the flight, you didn't experience it nosing down, which is the critical bit.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because no matter what the distance is, you still have to negotiate the drop from point A to point B, period. So I don't care how you statistically maneuver this, right? You still have to negotiate 100 on a 1,000-mile trip, right? 128.3 miles of drop. Set. Over. So we can talk about
so there's the secondary argument from a pilot with regard to that. So with the straight and level flight, they would argue you can still maintain that 1 to 3 degrees, but reduce altitude by just slightly reducing airspeed. And in doing
hold
that,
on,
that
Adam,
would
hold
then
on.
Yeah,
keep
I
you
know,
up.
but
hold on,
you
hold on, both
noticed
of you.
that.
Hold on, because this will go on forever. What John is saying, Adam, is that regardless of the angle change, the ground beneath you has fallen away. So you've then
Yes,
got
that's
to
the point I'm
presumably
addressing.
catch up with the ground, the extra ground that's dropped away from your position in the air.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah,
that can
and
be
you're
mitigated by reduction of airspeed, which causes a reduction in altitude without adjustment of the right. So you've got a reduction of altitude. That's fine, but you're still not twisting the plane so that the center of alignment of gravity isn't being altered by the topography
gravity. What
changing
which
underneath.
gravity?
You understand that what down is experienced as the direction. If you were traveling across the ball, then the direction would adjust with distance. Yeah, if it was a ball.
Well,
Now
whether
you
it be
can
by
mitigate for
nosing
the
down,
high
whether it
altitude.
be, oh my God, whether it be by nosing down or the speed reduces, you would notice it. If you
Right.
drop 20 feet in a flight, you notice it, right?
I'm trying to support you, John, but so maybe you're not understanding the point. So
No,
I'll
no.
probably leave it
Yeah,
there.
I'm not. We could talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
We'll get back into it. I'll do a couple of shout outs though. So shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat for the super chat. Says it's flat today. Let's teach kids how to test the globe. Shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat, and also Chow Yun Cat, who put a crucifix. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
All right, tell me when it's up. We ready to continue? Or
Yeah.
was there anyone that had any more questions or comments?
Any more for any more?
Nope.
I think
Okay.
I'm about done.
Cool. Right, Europe.
So we have the Bolivian salt flats, and like I said in previous presentations, if this isn't on your bucket list, it should be. This is absolutely breathtaking. I don't know if I'll get there, but if I ever get a chance, I'm going. So, according to the highly esteemed heliocentric sun-worshipping spinning ball space monkey religion, every point along a tangent in every direction from your feet drops. That is vertical drop away from you at 8 inches per mile squared. Here, let's do this. Maybe this will help with the last point too. You see this? You see this, guys? By either Pythagoras or trigonometric construction, this is a vertical drop, right? You don't start over right here, right? If you have a trip of 1,000 miles, you don't start over every mile you go and then calculate the drop. It's the drop from point A to point B. Everyone following this? So, the Salar in the Bolivian Andes is the largest salt flat on Earth, exhibiting less than 1 meter of vertical relief over an area of 9,000 square kilometers, right? This is from Borsa, Topography of the Salar del Uyuni, Bolivia, from Kinematic GPS Geophysical Journal and International Volume. I'm going to pull this up here in a couple minutes. What they're talking about, this isn't a sight gag. This is a geometrical flat plane. You can have a myriad of topographical features on a sphere: mountains, ridges, saddles, spurs, depressions, etc. You know what you can't have? You can't have a geometrical flat plane. And this one is over 9,000 square kilometers. Therefore, how can they stage 5 cling with a kung fu death grip to their fairy tale religion that has one of its foundational tenets, vertical drop, and yet at the same time have a flat plane with less than 1 meter vertical drop over 9,000 square kilometers, pray tell? This is a violation of the law of non-contradiction. For an encore, can they reconcile married bachelors for us also? This is real simple and easy to reconcile. So, the distinguished Baltard position. According to the heliocentric sun-worshipping spinning ball space monkey religion, every point along a tangent, again, in every direction from your feet drops. That is vertical drops away from you at 8 inches per mile square. So, Vertical drop, the study. The Salar in the Bolivian Andes is the largest salt flat on Earth, like he said, exhibiting less than 1 meter of vertical relief over an area of 9,000 square kilometers. So no vertical drop. You see the problem here? Violation of the law of non-contradiction. Let's check this. This is the actual study. It shows 100 kilometer, 62-mile measure north to south of the Salar with less than 1 meter vertical drop. It's down here a ways. Bear with me. So you have a north to south measure. You have from alpha to alpha prime, 100 kilometers. So the spinning ball space monkey religion, 100 kilometers is 62 miles vertical drop. That equals 781 meters. The Bolivian salt flats, 100 kilometers, 62 miles, vertical drop, less than 1 meter. Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the venerated Baltard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests, simple. You live in a fairy tale, the end. Questions, comments?
Yeah, fairy tale. No drop. Anybody on the panel?
No.
Feel free.
No.
These are pretty concise, so.
Yeah, nothing really to add. There's always the complaints in the chat about allegedly not understanding the difference between drop and elevation, but they have to remember it's their model, that says there's supposed to be a drop. And, they're trying to, again, presume, first of all, that we assume we're on a sphere. And that's where the problem is, because they want level to mean parallel to the surface of a sphere rather than a tangent to the sphere. If there was a sphere, it would be a tangent line. So I think that's where the confusion is, but they think we're confused. But what can you do?
We're confused. Okay, could somebody tell me, please? I need somebody to tell me the disconnect between elevation and vertical drop. Anybody, please.
Now, elevation is just the distance from the surface, whereas drop is the surface is going away from you in a vertical direction, down.
So you said down. So is that in elevation down? Do you horizontally drop?
No.
Is there another drop other than elevation drop? Give me something.
Right. I'm just saying what they say is we're presuming that elevation is only the distance from the surface, not even considering that the surface in their model is dropping away too. So the confusion is on their part, I think.
Well, they demand that you beg the question. They say it's relative to their model.
Well, let me go back again. Let me try to say this again. Please give me another drop other than a drop in elevation. It's so stupid I can't even say it. It's not confusing. It's moronic. Give me something other than elevation drop, vertical drop. Okay, what does vertical mean?
Well, I'll put it out to the audience. So, I don't know, about halfway through, if you can give me the nod, QE, I'll stick out a link for Discord so members of the public can join. And if they can remember this question, other than... what other drop is there, I suppose, is the most concise way of putting it.
I'm at a loss. There must be 8 inches per mile squared of drop on their ball. Where are they calculating this drop from? I want somebody to show me how they're calculating drop. Drop from what? What's the benchmark? We know elevation isn't made from the center of the earth. I already posted that citation about 500 times, along with their ellipsoid train wreck. So what's the benchmark?
Right. They can't do it without presuming. They can't do anything but affirm the consequent. It assumes there must be a sphere, but like I said, the the curvature calculator is their calculator. They say there is drop 8 inches per mile squared. That's what they say. And then they want to say, that elevation is just a distance of an object above that curve, that surface. And then they tell us we don't understand. It's like, well, your calculator, you tell me.
Yeah, it's non sequitur. It doesn't make any sense. You got to give me some type of drop. Where's the drop? What, do your drawers drop? Where's the drop? To drop, it has to be vertical. That is elevation drop. You got to have a benchmark. What's the benchmark? Sea level? What does level mean? Level means flat. So this is just a circle jerk.
Adam, Betty, either of you got anything to add? Or move on if not?
Yeah, I see someone commenting in Discord, and I think that, John, you can get these. You have a quote from the Solar that you use a quote from someone, or a citation. I mean, sorry. And I have a guy that says, well, the elevations are recorded relative to the WGS 84 model.
Yeah,
so
well,
they say something in that same document is referring that they account flat as in that model. So that refutes your former.
Oh God! Tell me when you're done.
That regards your former quote. That's what the guy says. I'm done.
First of all, they're not quotes, they're citations. Second of all, we don't measure a benchmark from a model, right? We don't. The benchmark measure on an elevation drop is not from a concept. I need some cowbell, some physicality, right? So that's non sequitur on its face. It's moronic.
Can you show that citation that you have and the reference again? Maybe
you still have me sharing.
I will be.
No, I see that awful bottle again, which we had decided that we wouldn't see, but I think Nathan likes it best.
Oh my! Don't just throw him under the bus.
I just let me get you back. Look, fun though it is to poke fun out of the host, right? To get us back on track, I summarise this immediately. They must demand that you beg the question. It's in reference to our model. That's all they can do. Demand that you beg the question. Got you up,
yeah,
QE.
It's that academic. What is this? It is in blue. It's a little quite small for me to see.
Do you want me to pull the link up?
Yeah,
or this
if
part?
you can.
Is
I
it
don't
this
know.
part?
Because he says in that same document,
Oh,
there's another citation that he pulls out. That although he doesn't pull out the citation, he just says it. That they make it that their flat is according to that WGS 84.
And I say again,
Yeah.
you can't measure flat from a concept, a model.
Okay, and that's that geoid thing, I think.
Right? Yeah, the geoid, the hypothetical imaginary model. Yes, they even got a red line under it. Windows 10 doesn't recognize it because it's moronic.
Sorry, Betty. Can you just repeat what he said again? Their flat is based on a model. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, I saw the comment earlier in a different thread, and that it had quotation marks on it, and that's how they see flat, right? They see flat on a flat sphere.
Yeah, they see flat in reference to their model. What's that you say? It's flat.
Well,
only in reference to our model is it flat. You say it's completely flat. Reference to our model, my friend. Flat means curved.
I want to see their model.
Yeah.
I want to see their model. Any globetard, please post your model somewhere. 3.5 years, I've never seen it. That is the globe Earth model. Has anyone on the panel seen it?
No.
Nope.
I've seen them decry Google Earth, and it later transpires that Google Earth backs no drop because there is no drop. So they definitely don't say Google Earth is their model. But no, I've never been presented with a model. Adam, have you ever been presented with any globe Earth models?
Not seen one yet. I used to think it was globe Earth, but they denounced that during the Isle of Man.
You mean Google Earth?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, they
Google Earth I
denounced
always
it.
thought was the best model they had, but like I said, the ballers denounced that in favour of an ordnance survey map, as far as I'm aware.
That's correct, yes. Paul, you got anything to add? Paula, you there?
I love what. Sorry.
No, nothing more really to add. They still keep going on and on in the chat about all these things that we've already gone over. So not much to add. It's their own model that is confusing them. I think they keep trying to make excuses for it, but they commit fallacies left and right in the process.
You move on?
I'd just say one thing, Nathan. I like the salt flats as a proof, because models accepted on a flat model. It's a very good example of a small portion of the flat plane with very little topography. But on the ball model, it's a great example of somebody who's had a file out and just took a little edge off, so it's perfectly flat. So I think in terms of if you were to be postulating plausibility in Occam's razor, it seems very odd that that kind of area, of such a vast area, would be created to be flat. And I say that because they do use the distance to the centre of the Earth as an excuse to bend it round a ball. But the reality is the visual observations don't demonstrate that. So it is flat by description. It isn't bending round a ball like their sea level. The salt flats are flat.
Okay. I mean, we've got a few people, as Paula points out in the chat, saying our model, our model, our model. But a few of them are saying Google is our model. So, as I say, when I get the nod, I'll stick out a link to Discord. And if you want to come in and show us where the drop is in your model, then you're welcome to do so. Should we move on?
Well, before you move on, this has more to do with Hanlon's razor than anything else with the salt flats. It's a direct contradiction. You know what Hanlon's razor is, right?
Nope. What's Hamlin's razor?
Hanlon's razor. Don't assign confusion with malice of forethought. Something to that effect.
Don't assign confusion with malice of forethought.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. Don't assign ignorance to malice of forethought. Something on that thing. I can't recall exactly what it is.
You want it? It's never attribute malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity.
Oh, that's right. That's it. Say it again.
And basically, just to make it a little less wordy than they have it there, is don't attribute something to malice when it's really just stupidity.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think he's mean. Just realise he's dumb.
Yeah.
Flat means curved. Flat means curved.
Yeah, we're ready to move if you'd like.
Yeah, I've got you up.
So I would say every one of these are my favorite, so I stopped doing that. But this is definitely one. The Evolved Sea Sparrow Missile, the ESSM Block 1. And let me get your attention down to this little contraption down here, right here on the bottom. You guys see this? This is pivotal in this argument. These are the target illuminators. They're the target illuminators. They're going to become very important here in a few minutes. So the general characteristics of the Evolved Sea Sparrow Missile Block 1. Primary function, surface to air and surface to surface radar guided missile. This is very important right here. This isn't air to air or anything else. All of it, both functions, surface to air, surface to surface. This is directly from the Navy.mil. Okay? Bistatic semi-active seekers in the nose of a missile receive a reflected signal from a target that is being illuminated with an RF signal transmitted from a fire control radar. This guy. On a standoff platform, for example, aircraft or ship. In our example, it's a ship. These are surface-fired missiles. Such systems require that the platform maintain what? Line of sight to the target until it is engaged by the missile. Ship-based standard missile and the NATO Sea Sparrow anti-air missiles are examples of such a semi-active mode. The NATO Sea Sparrow requires a constant signal for homing. From naval technology ranges more than 35 miles. The target is illuminated with a 2-degree RF pencil beam, which has to be maintained, that is painted on the target until detonation. At a more than generous 50 feet elevation above sea level, that's the target illumination radar height, the target should be hidden behind 463 feet of curvature. So, please explain how you can have line of sight 35 miles away on a spinning ball by showing how a 2-degree RF pencil beam can penetrate 463 feet, that's 141 meters of target hidden height, through a wall of water 24 miles in length. PS 35 miles is lowballing. The official max effective range is classified, i.e. it's much, much greater than 35 miles. So, either A, the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile, that's the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 exists, or the spinning ball religion exists. Both can't be true. The end. The knighted spinning space monkeys live in a fairy tale. See if you can follow this. Range of the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 is 50 kilometers. Actually, it's much farther, like I just said. It's classified. Number 2, the target must be illuminated by an RF pencil beam via target illumination radar on the launch ship for the weapon system to engage. Ergo, it must have line of sight. Number 3, the target illumination radar and the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 must be on the same launch ship. Number 4, surface targets, ships, and sea skimmers are engaged by the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 from the launch ships. Number 5, the horizon at 50 feet elevation, according to the begging the question curve calculators, is 8.65 miles. Ergo, the limit of line of sight on a sphere is 8.65 miles at that elevation. Number 6, if the ESSM Block 1 can engage surface targets from ships at anything greater than 8.65 miles, that's 13.9 kilometers, and it most assuredly can, then the Earth must be flat. The prosecution rests simple. They live in a fairy tale, the end. A typical comeback to this. And I've touched on it up above. But the missile and the target illumination radar don't have to be on the same ship, Quantum Racer. Factually incorrect by Raytheon. Unlike the RIM C7 Sea Sparrow missile and the ESSM Block 1, Block 2's active seeker will support terminal engagement without the launch ship's target illumination radars. This means the RIM 7 Sea Sparrow and the ESSM Block 1 must have the target illumination radar and the missile on the same ship. The ESSM Block 2 doesn't need the launch ship's target illumination radar on the ship, but the Block 2 Evolved Sea Sparrow missile isn't going to be ready until 2020. From docs.house.gov, the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 2, an improved short-range ship-based missile that counters attacks by multiple cruise missiles at low altitude, as well as adversary jamming and radar deception. It will be fielded in 2020 with 80 missiles going to the fleet. By my clock right here, that's a year away. Ergo, please tell me how the evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 has been engaging surface-based targets at more than 50 kilometers with the target illumination radars on launch ships for the past 15 years. 15 years right here. They were full operational use since 2004, directly from the Navy. You ready? Kaboom! The highly venerated fairy tale spinning ball space monkey religion just crashed and burned with such ferocity it would make Steve Austin's $6 million man crash and burn look like a fender bender. Questions, comments?
I posted the link to Strange World 21, Mark Sargent's interview with the missile instructor while you were talking, so check that out.
Thank you.
Anybody on the panel got any comments? I like that proof.
Yeah, I don't see a way around it. I mean, if they tell us boats disappear on the horizon in only, 3 to 5 miles or even 12 miles, 50 miles is out of the question, no matter how big something is. And you just cannot do that. And all they can say in the chat that I've seen is, hey, there's one instance in that whole thing you presented where site was spelled wrong. S-I-T-E instead of S-I-G-H-T. And they keep going, hey, he can't even spell site. One time you had a typo, and that's all they can think about, not, wow, we can't, how can we have these devices that target line of sight for 50 miles and still also say at the same time that boats go over the horizon in way less than that? That's their problem to solve.
Called an appeal to format fallacy. Rather than addressing the actual argument, they attack the formatting.
Right.
It's just
The
sad.
same in Discord, by the way.
They
Do the same in Discord. They also go about.
Okay, sorry.
Did I miss any comma splices?
Just fallacious. No rebuttals whatsoever in this instance. Not even appeal to their model. But you're absolutely right. There's a great video by Taboo Conspiracy where he's got a guy on a periscope and he's pretending to talk to his guy on the button, presumably ready to fire. And he's going, oh, according to the curve maths, that one's 50% behind the curve, so obviously at least half the boat's looming. Oh, that one's way too far. That's definitely all looming. That's a complete mirage of a boat. That one in the distance couldn't possibly fire at that one. Oh, that one's close enough. That one's definitely not affected by Earth curve. We can shoot at that one.
Yeah, I've seen that. It was excellent.
Betty, Adam?
I've just got John. Could you just put the picture back up of the gun and the sight mechanism? Just one. I was just
The
doing
missile?
a little.
Yeah, the missile. It's not a gun. It's a missile. Yeah, the target illumination radars are right here. See them?
Okay. Yeah. So they're. So I was just looking at that, and I was just kind of pondering, and if you were setting your equipment up, the thing that's aiming it is the bits at the bottom, isn't it? Now, if you were dealing with line of sight and curvature, let's just say they're 30 foot above sea level and the gun's 50 foot above. Well, if you were positioning your targeting system and height mattered because you were dealing with a curved surface, it would seem eminently sensible to have them positioned at least level or above, because if where they are, say 30 foot at 35 miles, then the amount of drop is 440, 375 at 50 foot, and if you say Adam, same height above, 327, so more than 100 foot more visibility. Now, I'm assuming the military are pretty smart, so if that was relevant in any way, then I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have the sighting mechanism underneath the guns. They'd have it above it to ensure maximum range.
Yeah, the rate limiting step, they can have the missile anywhere on here. The rate limiting step that's why I focused on the target illumination radar. because that is what's sighting the target. That's what's painting the target.
Exactly. So if it was painting the target on a ball, its ability to paint the target in the distance would be reduced by sighting it lower down on the ship and not higher
Yes.
up on the ship.
Exactly.
not.
Yes.
I actually saw a comment in the chat that, how do you know the target's above water? Maybe they're shooting something under the water. I don't know what part of line of sight is unclear.
No, it's surface
That's
to
just-
surface and surface to air missile.
Right. He said it right at the beginning. Surface to surface, highlighted, bolded, made big.
Yeah.
People
Right
just can't
here.
watch and
It's
take.
not underwater.
Right. It's not a
They're
torpedo.
not firing. This isn't a torpedo.
Right.
Ball target.
Right.
I love it. That was the poorest section of rebuttals from the chat so far.
Somebody hold their beer because they're going to have some more coming up. I guarantee it.
Okay, ready when you are.
So, this was the cornerstone, right? This will be a quick one. No vacuum of space. I don't know how well you can see this picture, but there's a couple dots in here. We'll just take the center dot. What they're saying here is that there is 760 torr of pressure on this little dot right here, encompassing this little dot right here in the middle. No barrier. And all around here is 10 to the negative 17 torr vacuum. Do I need to say anything else? I don't think so. What a joke. Number one, how do you have gas pressure, atmospheric pressure without a container to begin with when, from Elmhurst University, the pressure of a gas is the force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container? I can't wait to hear this yarn, and we've heard many yarns so far, and there's going to be more. You can't have gas pressure in an open system. Your fairy tale narrative, your Earth, is an open system. Married, bachelors, or more tenable. So basically, please explain how you can have tire pressure without the frigging tire. That's it. You got to explain it. Number two, how can you have a vacuum outer space attached to a non-vacuum Earth without a physical barrier in the same system simultaneously, without bludgeoning to a bloody pulp the laws of entropy? That's the second law of thermodynamics. A, in other words, how are you still breathing and adhering to your fairy tale religion both at the same time? B, then define the law of non-contradiction. Why? Because it's a violation of the law of non-contradiction. C, please list each fairy tale associated with outer space that gets taken out back to the woodshed and bludgeoned senseless as a result of the fairy tale vacuum of space vaporizing. And three, and this is kind of fun, how in the world did the Earth form an atmosphere at all in a vacuum? From a big bang? Have you ever heard the phrase, nature abhors a vacuum, by chance? Wonder why that is. From Arthur Eddington, The Nature of the Physical World, 1930, page 74. If your theory is found to be against the second law of thermodynamics, I can give you no hope. There is nothing for your theory but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. I don't think he's mincing any words here. But what do we get? But we have gas pressure gradients. Why do in the integrity beyond reproach spinning space monkeys trademark continue to wholesale dodge the very simple question to support their fairy tale religion? Why? This is the question. How do you have gas pressure without a container? The Bagat response: how do we have gas pressure gradients, QE? See, the brain surgeons actually think this double your pleasure fallacy is a reason response to the question. So I'll break out the crayons. Now, with a caveat, you know the problem here, right? Don't munch them. Which comes first? Number one, gas pressure, X, or gas pressure gradients delta X. There can't be a delta X before there's an X. Okay? In other words, honorable crisis, before number 2, you see this? Before delta X, one must friggin' exist. That is X. Must friggin' exist. Can't get around it. So again, back to where we started. How do you have gas pressure without a container? Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the exalted ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. Simple. You live in a fairy tale. The end. Questions, comments?
Well, according to the chat, volume doesn't imply a container.
Is that so?
Yeah. So I've said volume of what?
Tell them to bring it up in the after show. I don't want to get off the presentation. Can somebody mark that? Here, I'll mark it down. So
No
say that
worries.
one more time.
Sure, I'll read it verbatim from a chap named or a lady named Supercurve. Volume of gas. You can have a volume of gas without a container. There's a link below, Supercurve. Please join the Discord server. Give us your demonstration of gas pressure without a container.
So essentially, she's saying you can have volume without a container.
Seems to be the case.
Thanks, I got it down.
No worries. Anyone on the panel?
No.
No, I think that everything has been said about this subject. So
Okay.
Adam?
move on.
No, I was just going to say that sounds like more semantic or double speak, heading into Rumpus's air and atmosphere kind of realms in terms of. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Best
get
you
it right,
can
Adam.
define a
Air
volume
is
in a
not the
larger
atmosphere.
volume.
We can't misquote this bit, Adam. I'll take it from here. Quote, The Rumpus, 2016. Air is not the atmosphere. End quote.
Yeah, and there is no semantics regarding the meaning of volume.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Volume.
Semantics is the definition of words. Yes, every single argument, every single proof is semantics. Duh. Well, it's like charging the Keller yellow with being yellow. Goodness sakes, man.
No, they're saying it's a dimension. Yeah, a dimension of what? Save it for the after show. Click the link. Tell us afterwards. Right, let's move on.
We're rolling now, man. All right. One of our favorites. Like I said, everyone's a favorite. Not spinning. The Earth's not spinning, space monkeys. We're going to show you again. For the Coriolis effect to exist, you must have, i.e., the necessary conditions, two differing frames of reference. One rotating coordinate system, non-inertial, the Earth, and one non-rotating coordinate system, inertial, the atmosphere, and everything in it. From Seagard, Douglas, Introduction to Ocean Sciences, Critical Concept Reminders. When set in motion, freely moving objects, including air, that's atmosphere, psst, rumpus, atmosphere, and water masses, clouds, water vapor, move in straight paths while the Earth continues to what? Rotate independently. Because freely moving objects are not carried with the Earth as it rotates, they are subject to an apparent deflection called the Coriolis effect. To an observer rotating with the Earth, freely moving objects that travel in a straight line appear to travel in a curved path on the Earth. In other words, anything not tethered to the Earth is freely moving. Number 2, the object in question, not physically attached to the rotating coordinate system, Earth, appears to deflect, i.e., moves independently of the rotating coordinate system from the vantage point anywhere on the rotating coordinate system, the Earth. So, if the Coriolis effect exists, and this is very important, if the Coriolis effect exists with respect to the Earth, Then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, nonstop traveling at 500 miles per hour airspeed, with both locations roughly the 35th degree north latitude, that is, both allegedly spinning at 860 miles an hour, should be approximately 1.5 hours. But it's approximately 4.5 hours. Charlotte to Los Angeles flight, airspeeds 500 miles an hour. The ground speed, you have to take the airspeed plus the 860 miles per hour alleged rotation speed that's coming in your face. You're traveling from east to west is 1,360 miles an hour. So, in my example, number one, two different frames of reference, the Earth and the atmosphere and everything in it. Number two, the plane in the atmosphere is freely moving, not attached to the rotating coordinate system, and is flying in a straight path. In other words, based on the law of non-contradiction, each, the Coriolis effect with respect to the Earth and the Charlotte flight at 1.5 hours are either both true or both false. The flight is most assuredly false. Therefore, the Earth is not spinning. Ergo, the ball goes by way of the dodo bird, or you're a stationary ball geocentrist. Voila. The only way the above can be refuted is if you're of the position that the atmosphere spins with the Earth. So then, if you're of that position, number one, please explain how the Coriolis effect can exist when the necessary conditions for it to exist are two different coordinate systems, reference frames. You have one rotating non-inertial, the Earth, and one rotating inertial, the atmosphere, and everything in it. Let's take a look here. I pulled this up before on many of occasions. Let's just read it. In the inertial frame of reference, ding, 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 upper part of the picture, the black ball moves in a straight line. However, the observer red dot, who is standing in the ding, 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 rotating non-inertial frame of reference, lower part of the picture, sees the object as following a curved path due to Coriolis, right? So the reason why this is curving, the ball's not curving. The reason is because you are curving, you are rotating on the rotating reference frame. So a couple questions here. Do you see any latitude or longitude lines on here? Do you see an equator or any directions north or south on here? No. These are absolutely essential and the only causes that afford the Coriolis effect. The reference frames, there's two. Initial frame of or the inertial frame of reference, the upper part, that's the atmosphere, the ball's traveling through, and the rotating non-inertial frame of reference. It's just that simple. So we'll get 40 or 50 questions. I don't know. A incoherent second grader can reconcile this in less than, 5 seconds. So if you're of this position right now, the atmosphere spins with the Earth, and I just went through that block of instruction and you still hold this position, then you're in violation of the law of non-contradiction. That's number one. Number two, show the experiment where gases or a gas rotate in lockstep with a rotating solid body just 5 centimeters above the surface, then provide the mechanism. You do understand that gases have no intermolecular bonds, right? That's what kind of makes them gases? Obviously rhetorical. So do gas molecules attach to the Earth and each other by Velcro, superglue, molasses, pixie dust, other? And gas molecules, air, vibrate and move freely and randomly at high speeds. That's what makes them gases. It's a good visual here for the renowned spinning space monkeys from Purdue University. You see this over here? This is a microscopic view of gases. Anything stand out here? Like them not being attached and moving freely and randomly at high speeds? Do you get this? My word. Question, how can gas molecules that make up the atmosphere that move freely and randomly at high speeds, yet according to the intellectual elite baltards, rotate in unison, i.e. not moving freely and randomly at high speeds, with the Earth from west to east. This is a violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 2. Number 3, please explain east, north, and south surface winds on a spinning ball that has the atmosphere, air, wind, and gas rotating with it from west to east. Violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 3. We're going for a record here. Bonus question: how can you have different wind speeds moving in different directions simultaneously at differing elevations of the atmosphere, all the while the atmosphere is collectively spinning east in unison, the same? P.S. It'd be easier reconciling married bachelors. And by the way, we're in another violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 4. These are contradictory statements, these two right here. Number 1 and number 2. The atmosphere spins with the Earth. And number 2, the existence of east, north, and south surface winds. Which do you think? Which one of these are false? What do you say? Moreover, from the Mensa Baller's yarn, every cubic nanometer of atmosphere traveling horizontally from the equator to the center of rotation must have differing tangential speeds, and every cubic nanometer of atmosphere rising in elevation from each respective horizontal cubic nanometer of atmosphere must have differing tangential speeds. In fact, the higher the elevation, the faster they'll need to travel to keep up. And all of this rolling along at different speeds in unison east. Violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 5. This is so far beyond preposterous, ludicrous absurdity, evolution, whatever that is. Multiverses and married bachelors are blushing. And does anyone know how far this increasing speed, rope-a-dope, fairy tale spinning atmosphere ends? I'd like to see that. It'll give a whole new meaning to guillotine wind shear. Goodness gracious, people. P.S. Are the gas molecules, like I said above, attached to each other by Velcro, glue, pixie dust, other? And where is the energy coming from the continuous shot and arm injections needed to keep each successive cubic nanometer of atmosphere higher elevation brethren in tow? Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the prestigious ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. Simple. You live in a fairy tale. The end. Psst. The noble spinning space monkeys are so confused, aka ICD-10 F72 codes. The actual argument isn't that the Coriolis effect doesn't exist, or that planes are apparently deflecting. I'm going to give you the actual argument. I've done it about 2 times in 3.5 years. So you can get off your planes deflecting. Okay? Here's the actual argument. You ready? I'm using the Coriolis causes, conditions that afford the existence of the Coriolis effect, like I demonstrated above, the causes of the 2 differing frames of reference, to pummel the spinning part of the exalted fairy tale spinning ball-tard space monkey religion. That's what I'm doing. If the Coriolis effect is true, and we know it is, you could do it on a merry-go-round. And I just had a visual demonstration above from your alma mater wiki. And if the Earth is rotating, then the Charlotte to Los Angeles flight at an airspeed of 500 miles an hour must be 1.5 hours. Must be. It's not and never will be. Ergo, the Earth is not spinning. Done. Zero. Nada. And hurricanes. I love this one. So you're saying that hurricanes spin in opposing directions in the northern versus southern hemispheres respectively due to the Coriolis effect? Oh, really? I'd sure like some of the angel dust lace shrooms the distinguished space monkeys are snorting here. I mean, this is gonna, you might want to turn away, ball-tards. It's gonna get medieval here in a minute. So Please focus on the apparent deflection, not real, appears, does not actually in the following citations. Again, from Seagar Douglas. Because freely moving objects are not carried with the Earth as it rotates, they are subject to an apparent deflection called the Coriolis effect. To an observer rotating with the Earth, freely moving objects that travel in a straight line appear to travel in a curved path on the Earth. From the University of Oregon, the effect of the Coriolis force is an apparent deflection, again, hear the echo, of the path of an object that moves within a rotating coordinate system. The object does not actually deviate from its path. It appears to do so because the motion of the coordinate system. Now, the University of Florida has adopted the same definition as the University of Oregon. So, apparent deflection, right? Does not actually. It appears. Are you getting it? From Utah State University. The Coriolis force is an imaginary force because objects affected by it are really following a straight path. It is an apparent deflection we see from the vantage point, frame of reference, of the rotating Earth. From California State, the Coriolis effect describes the, surprise, apparent deflection, curving of an object traveling in a straight line. Let's round it out from encyclopedia.com. Within its rotating coordinate system, the object acted on by the Coriolis effect appears to deflect off its path of motion. This deflection is not real. It only appears to happen because the coordinate system that establishes a frame of reference for the observer is also rotating, right? So I think I put enough in here so we can get sort of the flavor of it. So here comes the punchline. As we've seen on the nightly news, images, Weather Channel, we've all seen these. What are we looking at here? Right? We have actual spin directions. Let me rephrase that. We have actual spin directions. This is counterclockwise. This is clockwise. We see these. These are actual. Does anyone see the problem here? What does an actual spin direction, clockwise and counterclockwise, have to do with the Coriolis effect, which is an apparent deflection? Not real, appears, does not actually, por favor. Answer key, absolutely nothing. Violation of the law of non-contradiction again. This is tantamount to giving a presentation on quantum numbers with excruciating details on S, P, D, and F orbitals. They're not orbitals, by the way. Then concluding that they are responsible for the creation of facultative anaerobe woodpeckers. People, wake up. Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the highly decorated, ball-tarred, spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests simple. You live in a fairy tale, the end. But wait 1 second. P.S. We're going to finish up with something here. Let's go to the Foucault pendulum from plusmass.org. Once you set one in motion, its direction of swing will rotate at a rate of about 0.2 degrees every minute. But in fact, it isn't really the pendulum that's rotating. The pendulum is swinging back and forth in exactly the same direction. It's the Earth which is rotating underneath the pendulum, which makes it appear that the pendulum is in fact changing directions. What does this sound like? Huh? Maybe what we've been talking about for the past 10 minutes? Now, if you haven't caught it, it's the Coriolis effect. That's what we're talking about. If you didn't catch it then just ring your call button and I'll have Tommy come back and hit you in the head with a tack hammer. So, number one, if that's true, then why couldn't we just hover in a helicopter in North Carolina for 3 hours and catch a Dodger game? Right? Number two, if the Foucault pendulum is legit, which denotes two separate reference frames, right? What do we got? We got the pendulum swinging back and forth, and we have the Earth rotating underneath the pendulum. That, by my count, is 2, right? Then, get ready. This is going to be a shocker. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles nonstop, traveling at 500 miles per hour airspeed, with both locations roughly at the 35th degree north latitude, i.e. both allegedly spinning at 860 miles per hour, should be 1.5 hours, but it's 4.5 hours. The Charlotte to Los Angeles flight, airspeed 500 miles an hour, ground speed 500 miles an hour, plus the 860 miles an hour alleged rotation speed that's coming into your face. That equals 1,360 miles an hour. Distance between Charlotte, North Carolina and Los Angeles is 2,115 miles. Simple math, flight time must be 1.5 hours. Actual flight time, 4.5 hours. Does this 1.hour flight time ever happen? No. Then say bye-bye now to the illustriously dignified and knighted ball-tarred spinning space monkey religion. Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
It's a long presentation when it comes to Coriolis because it's got layer upon layer upon layer of doublespeak piled on top of what is actually quite a simple concept. A roundabout spins and you hold a ball. You're spinning round and round in a circle. You throw the ball, it goes in a straight line. But from your position on the spinning roundabout, it seems like it's curving. It's an apparent deflection. Apparent because it looks like it's curving, it's not. Now that's Coriolis effect. It's real. It exists. It happens. You can observe it yourself on a roundabout with a ball. However, it's asserted that the Earth spins underneath the atmosphere, the frame of reference that the ball, bullet, aeroplane, helicopter, or anything else they allege is being deflected or experiencing apparent deflection on account of the fact that the Earth is alleged to rotate underneath. The problem being that it doesn't. No drone, plane, helicopter, or anything else for that matter ever experiences these ludicrous speeds that they would if the Earth rotated underneath. It simply does not. So we'll start with Adam this time. There.
Yeah. Oh, Coriolis. It's one of those ones you could go on for hours trying to prove your point, isn't it? But all lads, I tell you what it is for me, Nathan, is listening to the FE debates, and there's probably a number of toe tags on this. George the scumbag, hatting you up, probably primarily. But with a lot of the debates, you can often at least comprehend in their imaginary world their argument. But this is one that is their imaginary world. And I often I'm sat there and I'm trying to listen to, for example, George, and you can't even comprehend the point he's trying to get over to validate his position as to, particularly with aeroplanes, why that phenomena doesn't occur if said Coriolis was occurring. And yeah, it's a frustrating one that debating with ballers when you listen to it, because it just gets into the complete obfuscation straight away, because their own argument is done out by their own science, and yet they still feel the need to try to explain that it is a secondary reference frame, yet not a secondary reference frame.
Indeed. I'll just do a quick shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez, who says, "Congratulations, Nathan. Every new show has been better and better than the one before." Well, thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Leonardo Gonzalez. Really appreciate your support. So, Betty, do you want to go next?
Well, yeah, my head is spinning, but that's about it, I think, because we have been with this argument, I think, since the beginning. I think that John brought it up in earlier Hangouts, and really no one had a rebuttal to this. It's all double speak, and nothing's ever changed. So yeah, it must be something psychological with people not seeing this. So I don't understand. it's for me. I found this difficult in beginning to explain this. And you can do this very well, Nathan, to explain the whole Coriolis and stuff to people, and still most of them don't get it. So it amazes me that people don't get this argument. They don't want to. That's how I feel about it.
Paula, you got anything to add?
Not really to add, maybe to just emphasize the contradictions. They can't decide whether they want the Earth to turn under an object or not, because sometimes they want it, sometimes they don't. It's like, for example, the merry-go-round, and if they say, I saw one comment, if you jump up, your momentum will be conserved and you'll land where you jumped off from. But the problem is, yeah, you have some momentum, but once you leave the spinning thing, you're going in a tangent, a straight line, and that's how they get their apparent Coriolis effect. So they're saying if you jump up and you land back where you were, there's just basically saying there is no Coriolis effect. Your conservation of motion will put you back where you were, but yet they say that Coriolis is exactly the opposite. The Earth turns under. They can't make up their minds. And of course, with the Foucault pendulum, the pendulum is attached to the Earth. So how is the Earth turning under it? It's just, I don't know, it's just begging the question most of the time, and special pleading and all sorts of other fallacies, and contradiction is at the heart of all of it, I think.
Well, the pendulum's your friend, Paula, and I'll tell you why. John laid this out for me maybe several months ago, I forget how long ago. But basically, because it's tied up in doublespeak, and as you rightly point out, they can't decide if they want one reference frame or two reference frames. And for the layman out there, when Neil deGrasse Tyson says, this guy's thrown a football and it's gone into the goal because the Earth rotated underneath, that is an example of the Coriolis effect. The ball travels in a straight line, but effectively the goalposts move because the Earth rotates underneath. That's two reference frame, an example of an actual Coriolis effect, claimed Coriolis effect being observed, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. However, when you get to the tricky detail of a plane travelling in the same reference frame as the ball, and not experiencing the Earth turning underneath with continents coming towards you at an exponential rate, or you fighting Earth turn, that simply doesn't happen. Or you taking off with a drone and it not having the Earth rotate underneath it, that doesn't happen either. There is no Coriolis effect. So then they have to explain that away by saying, well, no, the Earth and atmosphere travel as one. One reference frame, no Coriolis effect. In other words, they're arguing against their own claim. But they'll switch between the two to confuse the person who's either debating with them or listening to the conversation. So the way around this is to utilise the pendulum. So you say, okay, what's the pendulum doing? Well, the pendulum swings back and forth in the reference frame that it's in, and the Earth rotates underneath. That's why you see the pendulum deviate. An apparent deviation because the Earth rotates underneath, according to the pendulum. And you go, okay, Mr. Globehead, so the Earth rotates underneath the pendulum. Why doesn't it rotate underneath the plane? So then you've got them, because they've had to concede one of the two circumstances. According to the pendulum, the Earth rotates underneath. Now, your attack was to say, well, it's attached. It's ludicrous. Absolutely correct. It's not a demonstration of the Earth rotating underneath. That's preposterous. However, in their rhetoric, that's what it's claimed to be demonstrating. And once you can get Johnny Globehead to actually concede that that is what it's demonstrating, the Earth rotating underneath, you say, well, why doesn't it? Why doesn't it rotate underneath a plane or a helicopter or a drone or anything else for that matter, even if they claim it, like a bullet or a football? Anyway. Should we move on? Any more for any more? Or is that it? Long, awkward pause.
Yeah, it got to that point as to whether I should say, no, I'm good, Nathan, thank you, or just remain silent. But I think kill Coriolis.
Yeah, that's the end of the presentation. So we're going to move to Discord.
Yeah, we can do. We've got about half an hour left on the live show, so I'll open up all the mics on Discord. There has been a link out for quite some time, so we'll introduce them one at a time and see what they've got to say from top down in no particular order. So let's bring them up on screen so people can see who's in there. And we've got Babs in there. Let's see if we can get a hello out of you first and foremost. Hello, Babs. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just listening right now.
Oh, okay. Well, for now, until the after show, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick you in another room if the room fills up. So if you aren't intending to ask questions, and this will be the case going forward, we're just going to kick you to another room. So the only purpose for Discord live stream room is to talk to the panel or express your views, opinions, disagree, whatever the case may be. So at the moment, fine, we've got a few other people, so I'm not going to do anything, but that will be the case going forward. So next we've got Brenda. How you doing, Brenda? Can you hear us?
Occasionally. It still gets that period where the beginnings and parts of sentences are clipped. That's your setup?
It's your setup. Everyone else can hear clearly. But did you have any opinion on anything besides the production of the show? I.e. on topic?
Oh, it's entirely full of lies and deceptions. Yes, all of it.
Behind a generalized baseless assertion.
Yeah, well, there's too many lies to address in just one statement. They're all lies.
Okay, do you want to take one at a time? Start with the first, maybe.
Sure. Airplanes undergo powered flight. They are not projectiles, so they're not subjected to Coriolis effects. You can't lift up in a helicopter and expect the globe to rotate underneath you, because a helicopter is undergoing powered flight and it experiences a conservation of momentum.
Brenda,
You don't understand. You don't understand.
Okay, Brenda,
first grade.
Brenda, we heard your claim. Is it okay if we now address it?
Brenda, how would you distinguish against gliders, which are the shape of a projectile? There's no continued power, and they just are powered from the point of ejection like a projectile, and then have free reign there, but there's no continued projection based upon, like a jet engine, based upon the atmospherics. Is that the same or different?
Yeah, I couldn't even hear that because it's so broken up.
That's
your
a
connection.
shame.
It's not mine.
That's a shame. I'll repeat it. Maybe slower. Turn your speakers up, maybe. So, is a glider different to a plane?
What about it?
It's not being powered. Does a glider suffer this alleged effect of Coriolis?
No, gliders are not projectiles.
She's missing the argument. This is another idiot red herring fallacy. That's not the argument. The argument is, and I say again, the Coriolis causes. We're not concerned with planes or gliders apparently deflecting. All we're concerned with are the Coriolis causes. The inertial frame and the non-inertial frame. Hello?
Coriolis is not a cause. It's an effect of the conservation of momentum.
And conservation of momentum has nothing to do with this argument. I said we are concerned with the Coriolis causes. I know
Coriolis is not a cause.
I just gave a presentation on it.
You're wrong. That's why you're wrong.
What conditions do you need to have the Coriolis effect? What are the conditions?
Conservation of momentum and inertia. That's what it is. It's caused by the inertia of the projectile.
It's an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame would give rise to an apparent deflection, i.e. the Coriolis effect. So an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame.
Yes.
That's not what you said. So try again.
I'm agreeing. That's what it is. It's an inertial reference frame.
That's
what a projectile is.
You were agreeing that you were wrong.
Thank
So-
you. We
No.
already knew that.
Yeah.
I
Next
wasn't
subject.
wrong.
So in the claim of
Airplanes-
Earth-based, in the claim of
Airplanes are
Earth-based,
powered.
yes, this is a red herring. The conditions that need to give rise to an apparent deflection are an inertial and non-inertial reference frame. So the atmosphere is the non-inertial reference frame, and the ground is the inertial reference frame. Simple.
The projectile is the inertial reference frame, right? And then the rotating disc on your
The projectile
little
is
GIF
not a reference
there.
frame.
Hold on, let us say it. Say again, Brenda.
Okay.
So the projectile is the inertial reference frame.
Sorry, the projectile is the thing that will experience the apparent deflection when travelling into the non-inertial, the inertial reference frame, the atmosphere, if it's claimed to be an inertial reference frame, with the ground being a non-inertial reference frame, to give rise to Coriolis effect. So the projectile itself is the thing that will experience the apparent deflection, not an reference frame in and of itself, but it travels through a reference frame experiencing an apparent deflection.
You're wrong.
It seems that before I get to the conclusion of my statement,
Yeah.
the global mute button is being used by Brenda. So I was being quite
should cry
slow and
harder.
concise to summarise the situation, but Brenda saw fit to make sure that the globe Earth rhetoric was rumpused over the top of a rebuttal that was clear and concise. So Brenda, please do not utilise the global mute button while I concisely summarise that you would require an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame. When travelling into the non-inertial reference frame, the inertial reference frame would see an apparent deflection in the projectile when travelling through the non-inertial reference frame. That is what the Coriolis effect is if it was earthbound. So the projectile is not a frame of reference, it is travelling through the non-inertial reference frame if Earth is claimed to have that second reference frame. Your declaration that it experiences no Coriolis effect is akin to our argument, because there is no Coriolis effect, there is no non-inertial reference frame, i.e. spinning globe Earth.
Can I speak now? Are you
Well,
done?
I've finished now, yes. So once I finish
Okay.
a statement, yes, you may finish. Once I've finished, yes, that would be the appropriate time to talk, as opposed to in the concise summary at the end of my statement. Yes, now you can talk, Brenda. Go ahead.
Yes. The projectile is its own reference frame. It has its own reference frame. And from the reference frame of the projectile, it never experiences any deflection. That's why it's called an apparent or pseudo force. That's why Coriolis is a pseudo force, because the projectile itself never experiences any deflection, because it has its own reference frame. It's not traveling through a reference frame. It has an reference frame centered on the projectile itself. You don't
Citation
understand
support.
elementary school.
Okay, we can
Citation
do with the
support.
ad homs.
Clown
Hold on, John. Thank you, Brenda. Yes, the end came before the ad hominem started. So do you have a citation? Because before we do get into the citation, though, I'd like to clarify. You said the projectile is a reference frame, and then you immediately afterwards said it has a reference frame. So
Precisely.
So which one is it?
Those are synonyms.
Is and has. No.
Yes.
I am not
Yes.
a coat, but I have a coat. Is and has are different.
No. Not in this
Okay,
context.
if we're going to get hand wave dismissals to
Yes.
definitions of is and has, then this is probably the end of our conversation, Brenda. So unless you can provide a citation that backs your double speak that you won't clarify, I think this is possibly the end of the conversation.
The projectile has or can be considered
She's going
as
to
having
repeat the same thing.
its own reference frame.
Sorry, Brenda.
It has
Brenda,
and can be
Brenda,
considered
Brenda,
as
Brenda,
having
Brenda,
its own
Brenda,
reference
Brenda. We heard the first time. So now you're being challenged to provide a citation, not a repetition of your claim.
elementary school physics.
Okay, that's the end of Brenda. Let's shut her up. Sorry, Brenda, but ad hominems, I'm just not interested. We asked you for a citation, not to tell us what elementary school we could... Whatever, not interested. Okay, next up we've got D. Dave. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Excellent. A bit quiet.
Oh,
Hopefully I can
quite a
sort that.
show.
Yeah, you're on the show. Go ahead. What's your question or rebuttal or claim? Whatever.
Well, it's just an observation that I thought that people were ignorant really when they were uneducated, but I'm beginning to understand that it's probably the other way around. And I think of things like, a man in a white coat comes on television and says cottage cheese will cure cancer. And of course, the next week, all these shelves in the supermarkets are empty of cottage cheese. So I guess this is a way that you test for the mind control. And I can't imagine that whether the earth is flat or spinning could be such a contentious issue. It's amazing.
Okay. Did you have any sort of comments or remarks in regards to the flat earth proofs that have been raised today?
Well, I don't know what the shape of the earth is, but it's clear that there doesn't appear to be any way we can determine whether it's flat or round, but we don't have any evidence. I mean, you have these mysteries of nature, the sun, the moon, the earth. It's.
Did you just watch the I'm sorry for interrupting. Did you just watch the presentation?
Yeah, I started a little late. I'm here in Sydney, Australia, and.
Oh, okay. I did provide evidences. This is what it's about. Flat Earth evidences. So when you get a chance, can you go ahead and check it out? And you can always come back to the Discord server. And if you have any comments, you could put them in there. We'll definitely find them.
So we're moving on to, is it Gamer Marcy 1986? Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Very good to have you.
Yes, comments? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can, yes. Good to have you.
Just a quick question. John.
He's here, he can hear you.
Go ahead.
What is the sun, in your opinion?
But go ahead, say that one more time. I didn't catch
what the sun is. What's the sun?
Didn't somebody ask me that yesterday?
Sure, but that's his question. What's the sun, in your opinion?
I have no idea.
Anything else?
I know what it's not. All right. I worked in a school and we've got.
I was just going to add a little bit there, mate. Neither do
We've
I.
got a synthetic grass. And every time the sun is out.
Yeah, every time the sun is out.
It sort of radiates and it has electricity. So every time the kids run around and touch each other, they get a shock.
Correlation is not causation.
So my thing is, if globers believe that the sun is a gas, how comes we don't feel like electricity when we're at a bonfire, at a campfire, anything like that? I just want to get your opinion. What you think?
I think it's kind of non sequitur, if I'm honest.
I'm not sure what is meant by feel electricity in this example.
Yeah, your question's kind of malformed, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and it's not about anything we went out
from gas.
I'm sorry.
Correct?
It's not about anything in the Flat Earth proofs, the presentation. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, is there anything?
I just thought I'd put that point across.
Sure. Is there any is there anything in regards to any of the presentations? There was 5, I believe, that were up. Any remarks to that effect?
Oh, John's correct on all of them. He's spot on all of them. So absolutely fantastic presentation from John.
Oh, thank you very much. No, it's a pleasure. Next up, changed orders. It seems menace to sobriety. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, have you got a question?
Well, not really a question. I guess I was a little bit confused. I thought this episode was going to be flat Earth proof.
Okay, I sense from your tone that, for example, you have the best rebuttal to the advanced sea sparrow missile, for example. Could you explain that? How that's not proof that we're on a flat plane? Go ahead.
Well, the best rebuttal for that is just because I may not understand how a sea sparrow missile works doesn't mean that the Earth is flat.
That's not really a rebuttal, that's more a handwave dismissal.
Do you guys understand the heliocentric model?
Sorry, you've just handwave dismissed one of them that I picked at random. So there's been several that were up. Do you want to pick one and tell us your thoughts on that specifically, as opposed to quizzing us on our knowledge of the heliocentric model? I mean, we can get to that once the live show's over. Don't get me wrong; it'll be a free-for-all.
Well, it's just the simple things like when you mention the Earth not spinning under a helicopter. I mean, the heliocentric model doesn't state that it should spin under a helicopter. So I'm wondering if you guys really understand the heliocentric model or not.
Okay, sure, that's fair enough. So, do you appreciate that in the heliocentric model, it's alleged to have a Coriolis effect? Do you appreciate that, first of all?
Yeah.
And what do you understand the Coriolis effect to be?
Well, in layman's terms, if the Earth is spinning at, say, 1,000 miles an hour at the equator and you're heading north, that change in speed, because the Earth is a sphere, so the further north you go, the slower the spin is, that results in the Coriolis effect. It's apparent deflection.
No worries. So what you're saying is, as you travel north, the speed that the Earth rotates underneath changes, is what you're saying.
Well,
it's just a yes or no question.
I'll
just clarify. Sorry, just a yes or no. Sorry, my friend, I've got a supplementary question. I just need a yes or no. It was a closed question. I'm summarising what you've just said. You said 1,000 mile an hour spin at the equator, travel north, it turns slower underneath. Correct?
It's the difference in speed of the spin of the Earth that results in the Coriolis.
Yes. The difference in speed that it turns underneath. Yes, my friend? Just say yes. That's what you've just stated. See, this is the problem with Coriolis, right? He's made his position. All I'm now trying to do is literally get him to confirm the very words he said, but he doesn't want to, because he knows that the very words he said undoes his own argument, because he's just made a claim that the Earth rotates underneath, in spite of the fact that his opening gambit was to say that helicopters wouldn't experience the Earth rotate underneath. So, Johnny Globehead, do you now appreciate that you're holding a contradiction with your example, or not?
No, that projectile leaves the equator. It's moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And as it heads north, where the atmosphere is, say, now spinning at 600 miles an hour, you're going to see an apparent deflection.
Well, no.
The Coriolis isn't the Earth spinning underneath a hovering object like a hot air balloon or a helicopter. That's not what Coriolis is at all.
I see. So are you now saying, I misunderstood, are you now saying that the Earth and atmosphere spin together?
In general, yeah.
In general, you don't. There's no in general. They either do or they don't. It's a yes or a no. Yes or no.
Unbelievable. Did he listen to the presentation?
Hold on. We'll just undo this other side of it, John. He's switched his rhetoric from the Earth spins underneath to now apparently the Earth doesn't spin underneath. The atmosphere spins with it. So we'll just unpack that as well. So do you now, let's see if we'll clarify this. do you now assert that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one?
Well, they move together, but it's not like they're glued together.
Yeah, travel as
But
one, move together.
because of
It's
friction,
okay, you
the
just need to say
atmosphere
yes or
spins
no.
with you.
I don't need to know the word salad after. So you do assert that they travel as one. Oh, well then there's no Coriolis effect. Problem solved. Anything else you'd like to address? Preferably without contradiction this time. I'm not doing so well so far with your assertion that we haven't proven anything. The Earth does not rotate underneath. There is no Coriolis effect. We're stationary.
And it doesn't have anything to do with equator, longitude, or latitude lines. It has nothing to do with that. He didn't listen to the presentation.
Yeah.
So.
In order to have a Coriolis effect, you would need an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame. I.e., you would need the Earth to rotate underneath to have a Coriolis effect. I.e., if you assert that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one, then you don't have a Coriolis effect. Neil deGrasse Tyson's example wouldn't work very well if the Earth and atmosphere were travelling together, would it? He says that if ball gets thrown, the Earth rotates underneath, and the ball goes in a straight line. Yeah, Coriolis effect. But if they're travelling together, then there's no deviation. So that unpacks that other side of the nonsense. Like I say, typical example of a globe head coming in, telling us that, well, why would you assert that the Earth rotates underneath a helicopter? It wouldn't. Because we've got an example where we travel north and the Earth rotates underneath at different speeds. Oh, right. That's concise and double-speaky. Great example. Point proven. Anyway, menace to sobriety. Have you got anything else that you'd like to address that was presented here? Got maybe 10 minutes left.
No, I think that's about it. I'm still not sure if you just don't understand the helium model.
I agree, mate. That's a wrap. Anyway, we've got Righteous Force. How you doing? Good to have you.
Hey. Just a question to John.
Go ahead.
Why is the Sparrow missile better than the magnetic railgun? As an example.
Good question.
Yeah, I used to use the railgun back in the day, but it got so convoluted because the ballers came back that it was an indirect fire weapon. I just got tired of I got tired of laughing. So I still have that argument in the arsenal. I just haven't pulled it out in like 2 years. I just like the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile for some reason, because I like the line of sight and the target illumination radars. It's really killer. So, but I do like the railgun. I'd put the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile just because it's a little more cut and dry. There's nothing that they could really do about it. I realize that their indirect fire railgun is a tear-jerking belly laugher. I just got tired of arguing it. That's all.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Last but by no means least, we've also got Zanik. How you doing, Zanik? Can you hear us? He's got us the whole hangout on mute, so maybe not. He's disappeared. Okay, cool. I think pretty much everybody's been asked. Is anybody new? Oh, Pinocchio. We do have a new guest. How you doing, Pinocchio? Can you hear us?
He's usually not speaking, so I don't think that he will now.
No, fair enough. Okay, well, I mean, I'm happy to get some closing remarks from the panel, and then I'll round out and reschedule the Flat Earth debate. I think it's 879. That'll go out at 10 p.m. UK time, which is about 10 minutes approximately from now. So be there. Keep doing it. Be here or be sphere. It's on this channel. So yeah. But yeah, any closing remarks then in that case?
I'll jump in then. I enjoyed it. Hard to argue with any of them. I think all of them in themselves lend, like they're not scientific, but they do use logic, reason, and the bloody obvious to point out that whatever it is, it's certainly not a ball of said dimensions. And thanks again, John. Great presentation tonight.
Yeah, I second that. Great presentation. Hoping to get some closing remarks, ladies. Have you both disappeared?
Nothing new. It's the same stuff. In general, the reactions are, the usual personal attacks, or you don't understand, or cherry picking, or anything and everything but directly on point. As the one guest earlier couldn't name a specific thing that was inaccurate, but it was all, they say it's all lies, but can't give one example of a lie. And of course, lying means intent to deceive, whereas people can be mistaken. So calling it a lie is itself a lie, and we go back to contradictions again. So, all I can do is observe that, not explain it.
Seems like you're going to get the final words on the after show, Betty. But I will say, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley stream, then do stay tuned, as there will be an after show with our guests on Discord to follow. So, Betty?
Yeah, like Paula said, it is the same arguments, and I've been monitoring Discord. There are questions there, but they don't go on the panel to ask them there. So I hope that people will find the nerves or the less be a coward to just come on and state what they stated in Discord. I mean, here's the chance. You can this is the chance to debate or give your rebuttal, and I think it's a little bit cowardice not to do so. I think that everybody gets a fair chance to bring it, right? So hopefully next time people will come.
Cool. About you, John, you got anything to add before I thank you and the panel and everyone on Discord, and suggest that everyone clicks the link in the info box to go to the Flat Earth debate that's going to start shortly?
Sure. For the Baltard's next therapy appointment, go ahead and bring this scary movie with you. Okay? Bye-bye now.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to all of you who joined us in the live audience. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. If you're watching live, though, there is a link going by in the chat feed for the Flat Earth debate number 879, which will be premiering just after this show finishes. So tune in, be here or be sphere. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of the BALLBUSTERS, which is Betty, Paula, Adam, and Quantum Eraser. And last but by no means least, a massive thank you to all of the live public audience who joined us on Discord to challenge the assertions made here. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next BALLBUSTERS. Cool. Good show, John. Good show, Betty, Adam,
okay.
Paula.
Shall I move
to
the after show?
Yeah, if you move them to after show, then everyone's unmuted, right?
Because there are more people there, so...
Yeah, perfect. Let carnage begin, as I say.
He's so mad.
I'm going to take a quick 5 and I'll see you in a sec, guys.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, while the conversation starts up, so as a kind of exclusive, if you will, to the Nathan Oakley audience, who tend to be the more dedicated audience, if you will. I don't know how better to put that. The debate format's going to have some slight alterations, and that is to say that there might be a few flat earthers that find themselves lumbered with a debate that I'm not going to help them out on. In other words, in light of some of the opposing views that are being put forth on other channels, and I'd like to think it's off the back of what I've done. I'm not gonna beat around the bush in that regard. It's good news, though. I won't give my boring chip shop analogy. But what I will say is that it has meant that the flat Earth debate, in terms of what it is going to evolve slightly for the better. But watch this space in terms of what happens over the next few weeks in terms of how flat Earth debate pans out. It should be interesting, to say the least. It's all good, obviously. I'm very pleased about what's going to be happening. But there was let's call it a meeting of the Supreme Council, and it was discussed in terms of how things should be progressed on the flat Earth debate. I'm sure everyone's probably well aware now that I've got Discord running and it seems to be smoothly operating on a regular basis. So that was sort of phase one, but the change that's going to be noticeable to the audience will happen over the next few episodes. A little bit ahead of schedule, maybe. We'll see. I don't know, but I just thought I'd announce that while everyone's getting comfy and coming off mute, coming back from the lavatory.
That stopped me nipping off, Nathan. Yeah, well, I'll wait till we're off here for fuller details, so I'll see you in a sec, bro.
I don't mind disclosing everything. If you know, I'm not going to beat around the bush. If somebody's got questions about what I mean, I don't mind telling you.
Yeah, I definitely have questions.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, so going forward, currently, my position on the debate, when asked by Paula, what do you want to achieve? What are you trying to get out of it, and what's your end game, etc., was to say, well, I want the reality, the winning argument to always be at the forefront. And to do that, I do that. Well, unfortunately, that's not necessarily what's conducive to an audience of globeheads. They want to see people lose, and they want to see their argument win. So I'm going to let that happen. There's people on the panel, and I'm not going to name anybody specifically because I don't know how it'll pan out, but there'll be a point where, I don't know, let's just name somebody for example's sake. Chocolate saying, is it Zanuck, you're on the panel right now, you can't see Discord. It might be that Zanuck gets Chocolate saying up against the ropes on Monday's show, because I'm not going to step in. I'll moderate, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to twist the argument or have the argument as I have been. But my intentions have moved more towards the idea of having truth prevail every time, and the winning argument should still always be heard. But going forward, that might not necessarily be the case. It might be, I'm not saying Zanuck is wonderful, but it might be that he gives Chocolate saying, for the sake of argument, an absolute pacing. We shall see. There you go. That's pretty much what I mean.
So
no air support.
You gotta let them fight their own fight.
Well, I'm just not going to fight every battle, basically. I mean, I'll play more of a moderating role than I have till now. Up until now, wanting to always have the winning argument be at the forefront means having it myself. And, well, that's not necessarily what everyone wants to watch, as much as I'm up my own ass and think everyone wants to only hear me talk. Obviously, everyone's the same in that regard, right? But nevertheless, it might be the case that, as I say, Zanuck is giving somebody a pasting on Monday's show, and I'll be sitting back on mute going, so be it, so long as he's not rumpusing the hell out of him or, committing any debate faux pas, or I won't be interjecting. In other words, I'll just moderate. And if
isn't that more like the originals?
Yeah, it will be, yeah. I mean, in essence, yeah. I mean, if it means that the Globetard wins... Oh, I'm already showing my bias. Forgive me. Yeah, I've said it all. That's it. That's the summary. I don't think there's anything else to tell, unless any members of the Supreme Council can add any more details to what I've just said already.
Not really. I think that's the gist of it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think everyone else was just saying, no, that's pretty much the size of it.
I'm absolutely chuffed.
Great, go on, John.
Like I said, I'm absolutely chuffed. Now, the arguments, the truth will come out in the end. There are no winners or losers. We're all after the truth here. That's what I think should be the goal. So, yes, some people that come on the show, well, they might choose Nathan. Well, I have a question for Nathan, or a comment for Nathan, or a claim for Nathan. Or they might come on and say, well, is QE on the panel? well, I have a claim or I want to challenge you. So that can definitely happen. But it will be only those two speaking until the end. Now, at the end, the truth will come out. So we're not just letting two people go at it in the ring like, starved dogs. The truth will come out in the end.
Yeah, there's a natural conclusion to any argument, and obviously there's going to be a point of moderation where you go, okay, well, this is now becoming circular, or we've had the same claim from both sides 5 times, it's been exhausted, whatever the case may be, and at that point, maybe a different conversation will start, who knows? But I don't think it'll be the case that somebody comes in and goes, I elect 10th man for this. I just don't think it'll happen like that. I just think somebody will come in, the conversation will be flowing, 10th man will make his position clear, and at that point I'll be like, right, okay, fine, it's going to be Brenda and 10th man, nobody else talk. I mean, I've kind of been, to a certain extent, trying that, but I haven't intentionally held my tongue up until then. My overall outlook is to still get the winning arguments across. But by the same token, I'm going to do as I have to a degree in the last few shows, which is to say, no, it's now just these two people and nobody else.
Right.
That's a good idea, and that means you're going to present Discord, right? Like when we gotta post something in chat.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of presentation, that I'll have to work around. That'll be, people can be critical of my production. I can only declare ignorance and say, look, I'll get better with time, things will become more slick. However, to negate the overwhelming nature that you can have with Discord, I'm going to limit the spaces to 10. So there'll only be 10 gaps on the panel. And the idea will be to do exactly as I used to with Hangouts, which is to say, somebody arrives on Discord and I will, just like I did in the end of BALLBUSTERS, that was like a trial run. One mic gets opened. What is your position? What is it that you want to put forward? And then hopefully from there, if they're like, oh, well, I just want to stay, but I do want to ask, I do want to get into the conversation and debate, then that's fine. But if there's people that just want to sit in there on mute, then they'll be moved. So, because there's limited spaces. But I think 10 is a number that's controllable, even if you've got a couple of people open mic. But the long and short of it is I only want people in that live room that want to talk. In other words, people who just want to listen, go and watch it on YouTube when it's live, or wait for the after show when it comes out on the second channel. You can't just sit in there because you don't want to wait for the after show or whatever. Just go away if you don't want to chat. It's the bottom line. So that will be a bit more strict. But to generate conversation, and inevitably I will go back on what I've said here. It's always going to be the case. I'll be pulled up on it by people saying you're supposed to just be moderating, and initially I'll have to train that out of myself. I know I will, but this saying it on a recording is my declaration of that, if you will. So there we go, full disclosure.
Was he talking about? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Lower down to 10.
Go on, Zach. Sorry, John.
If I may suggest, if you're gonna lower down to 10, let it be open mic like you have it on. Used to have it on the Hangouts, and whoever's referencing at the time. But that will definitely help your, because sometimes you'll say something and somebody wants to, raise a question and they'll have a way to tell you, hey, I want to say something.
All right, you done?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I say, that will come more slick with time, but I'm familiar enough now with Discord to keep a handle on it. And so long as there's not more people than I can physically see on my screen, then I can keep a handle of what's going on. And presumably with time, there'll be certain panel members that will come on that you just leave off mute, and they learn to respect other people as they debate each other and rely on me to actually moderate it fairly. So that will take a little bit of time in terms of people's understanding of how the show has slightly changed, rather than it being a free-for-all where rumpusing can ensue from the sidelines. That just won't be tolerated. Again, that's been something I've been doing a little bit more, or trial and error, to be more brutally honest. But, fumbling my way through and figuring out how that's going to work. But now I've got a clear picture, in other words, enough to be able to have this conversation with you guys and explain it to an audience. And, come Monday, that is how it's going to be formatted.
All right. Was the last person's question, I thought I heard, maybe I misheard, but I thought that he was referencing visual aids from Discord. Was that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I said that'll get slick with time. Yes, I appreciate that people are going to want to share stuff from Discord.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can.
Wait a second. If I'm in there, then they can share my screen and they can share stuff in the live stream if they'd like. Any graphics, screenshots. That when I'm in there, like Nathan said, we're going to work through that, and over the next few weeks, I think we'll have an answer.
Yeah, and there's also the screen share capability that we can try, right?
Yes, but yeah, we're going to have to work through that because we'll have to assign those people that
task.
That attribute.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So we'll work through.
Well, there is
we're going to come up with an
workaround.
answer.
There is another workaround with that, which is to say that I'm sure through Discord you can private message people, and we could potentially private message the Hangout itself link where sharing is far more convenient. So that's another option. But there's various things that those will adapt with time. But for the time being, if it takes 30, 60 seconds to get something on screen so the audience can see it, so be it. If there's a point being made, better to have a little.
Oh,
bit
now
of
I
dead
get it. It's because they could porn bomb.
That's one problem.
Exactly. There's going to be, a certain. Yeah, there's a certain level of protection that's already in place for the show not to get porn bombed, and Discord offers an extra layer. So yeah.
But we welcome that. We want to have screen share. We want to have people visually represent their point and support their points with it. It's very important.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I'm saying, although it's going to be a bit wonky at the start, purely from me and a production point of view, that will absolutely be necessary. Anyway, I was hoping this would turn into a Q&A about the flat Earth proofs. That's far more pertinent than the debate structure. That was just an aside to the people in Nathan Oakley, just to sort of
thanks, Adam.
Warm up the conversation. I mean, we've just, absolutely obliterated any idea that we live on a spinning sphere. The Earth is obviously and observably flat, demonstrably and provably so. God, surely the Discord server, who are all welcome to chime in on these facts, have got something to say about it. No?
I'm shocked. They didn't listen to the presentation. How could you listen to that presentation and then come in and talk about powered flight or latitude and longitude lines? How could you do that? I'm gobsmacked.
Now they're able to talk to us right now in the after show on Discord, right?
Yes.
Or are we not hearing them?
No, they're just very quiet. We hear them. They're just not saying anything.
Can you poke them?
Give them a poke, Betty.
It was funny because Menace had a lot to say earlier in the chat, and I was hoping when he comes unmuted, he was going to start spewing his rhetoric.
Yeah, Super Curve. He or she, I thought they were going to join and tell us all about reference frames and stuff. Oh well.
Keyboard.
They must have gotten tired attacking people and calling me slow and things like that. In the chat.
He'll bring the points up after the show's done. That's what they do.
I see.
Yeah, or in the chats, right?
What is it? Chemo says, "Come on, ballers, share your pain."
I love it. Share your pain.
Like right now, literally right now, all I see is them talking shit in the live stream chat. That's all I see. No one is trying to come in and say anything.
Let's have a look. Let's see if there's any globe earth proof in here. Pretty rainbows. Whose are those? Lovely. Left the foot. Love it. It all looks fairly cordial to me. Wow. Picture of this. Who's posted this? Zap. The Globy proof, Zap?
Okay, Menace says he was talking, but nobody was hearing him. I don't think he's muted, is he?
Nah, everyone's in the after show. Everyone is unmuted on the server now. So.
No, he wasn't. He can't talk now.
There we go. Who was that? We hear you.
Yeah, this is Menace.
Menace, how you doing?
So the thing is, we got this problem with like an object in motion stays in motion, right? So on the heliocentric model, if you've got, say, a cannon that can fire a projectile on the equator, that cannon is spinning with the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour. So when you fire that cannon, that projectile is not only, say, firing north, it's moving north, it's also spinning with the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour.
Then there's no Coriolis effect.
Yeah, so if it reaches, say, the 60-degree latitude mark, that's like, what, 550 miles an hour or something?
Here we go again.
And that's what creates...
Unbelievable.
Sorry,
I'm
going to take a break for a few minutes. Go ahead, Nathan.
What you're describing is a lack of Coriolis effect.
A lack of Coriolis.
Yeah, why wouldn't the bullet or projectile also have the same momentum as the cannon? Just because it's not attached, because they say the air is attached. So why wouldn't? I don't understand the question.
That's what I'm saying. The projectile, if it's fired from the equator and aimed north, that projectile leaves the cannon spinning at 1,000 miles, like spinning with the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour. It's moving with the rotation of the Earth at the same speed as the Earth at the equator. So when it goes further north to an area where the rotation is now, say, 600 miles an hour, that projectile is still moving in the direction of the Earth at 1,000. And that's what creates this apparent deviation, this pseudo force.
Then it's not travelling with the atmosphere. If it's changing, deviating, then it's separate to the rotating reference frame underneath. So you're giving an example that says it goes up and shows no deviation, no Coriolis effect. Then you're saying it does show deviation. So which is it? Doesn't it or does it? Because you're just double speaking between 1 and 2. Precisely what we said in the presentation. You will jump between one reference frame, no deviation. Why would you expect to see any deviation was how you opened this gambit. And now you're saying you do see deviation as it travels north. Well, that's because the Earth rotates underneath. That's why you get the apparent deviation. But you started this by fighting to tell us why it doesn't show that. Do you understand the doublespeak contradiction here? Same as the last one.
I didn't say anything about why it doesn't. I'm saying it does have an apparent deviation. That's Coriolis. Coriolis is the apparent deviation.
So the Earth does rotate underneath then? It rotates underneath cannonballs, helicopters, aeroplanes. Oh, it doesn't, does it?
No, if you're sitting in a helicopter at the equator, that helicopter's on the ground. It's spinning with the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour. If that helicopter takes off, goes straight up 200 feet in the air, it's still spinning eastward at 1,000 miles an hour.
Then there's no Coriolis effect. If it's spinning at the speed that the rotating reference frame is spinning at, then there's no deviation. There is no Coriolis effect in the example you just gave us. Oh my god.
Yeah, if it goes straight up and hovers, correct.
So
but if it moves north or south, then you're going to get that apparent deviation.
Oh, I see. So it goes up and the Earth rotates with the atmosphere, but as soon as it makes any change in path, suddenly the Earth rotates underneath. So it's one reference frame until it moves. That's nonsense.
Yeah, it's silly.
So what happens if he stops at midair, like meaning just stops moving and just stays still? So he starts rotating with the Earth again?
The Earth at the equator, the Earth spins at 1,000 miles an hour. At the 60-degree mark, the Earth spins at about 550 miles an hour.
You're not answering my question. I asked you, if he stops in midair, he starts spinning with the Earth again? After he's moving, let's say he goes east and then stops.
You understand his question?
I have no idea what it would do.
Well, your example is you take off and the Earth and atmosphere spin as one reference frame, and then you move north, and then the Earth rotates underneath, apparently, giving you two reference frame. And this chap is asking, if you take off in a drone, apparently in your example, that's one reference frame, the Earth and atmosphere rotate as one, but then the drone moves north, according to you, suddenly the Earth starts rotating underneath. if the drone then stops moving north, does the Earth and atmosphere suddenly start moving together again? Because this is a very chaotic world that you live in.
Well, I would guess because they're so slow over time, it would eventually match up with the speed of the atmosphere spin as it's moving. But if you're talking, like a fast projectile, what I'm trying to say is the Coriolis does not suggest, or the heliocentric model of Coriolis does not suggest that the Earth's going to spin under a hot air balloon or a helicopter.
That's what Coriolis effect is. He's saying in the heliocentric model we wouldn't have a Coriolis effect then. That's what you're declaring, because that's precisely what it suggests. You idiot.
No, I'm declaring that we wouldn't have Coriolis as you
Dude,
think.
you're doing so many mind gymnastics right now to convince yourself what's going on. It's ridiculous. It's insane, bro.
So, by definition, if you are talking about a Coriolis effect, why is it that it, like, what we experience, like what an actual Coriolis effect is, which is 2 reference frames, why would it all of a sudden be different on the Earth?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. You were cutting out a little bit.
The question is,
I think it's my internet.
why is Coriolis different on Earth than it would be on a roundabout?
I don't think it really is. I mean, the principle's the same, is it not?
Right.
You throw your ball from the center of a roundabout, and it appears to deviate.
Right. So you take off in an aeroplane, and it should appear to deviate because the Earth rotates underneath.
Well, if you're sitting on the edge of a roundabout going around in circles, and you throw your ball straight up in the air, it comes straight back down.
No, it doesn't. You're telling me that...
No, it doesn't.
What are you?
Are you insane?
You on medication?
Are you nuts? Have you ever done that? Go and do it. Film it so I can have a damn good laugh at you. Do it. Go out to your local playground, take a ball with you, set up a camera on a tripod and film you spinning around with a ball and then throw it up in the air and then tell me that it comes back down again. Because obviously you've got magical force field around this ball.
Get in the back of a Ford pickup truck and go out on the highway, right? And take a wiffle ball. It doesn't even matter. Baseball. Get up to about 70 miles an hour, right? And then throw the ball straight up in the air and see if it comes back down into the back of the cab.
It'll come straight down as long as you don't throw it above the roof of the truck. If you throw it above the roof of the truck, then of course the wind catches it. But as long as the air in the back of the truck's moving with the truck, it'll come straight back down.
Hold on. So you're saying because the air moves with the truck, you don't see any deviation?
No, I'm saying if you're in the back of a Ford F-150 and you throw that ball up 1.5 feet in the air, it's going to come straight back down.
Yeah, that would be, I heard the first time. Yeah. That's no deviation then? Just up and down in a straight line. No deviation, my friend. No apparent drifting from your position. You're watching it go up and down, not deviating. Oh, unless, of course, it goes into that second reference frame. Then it goes, woo! Doesn't it? You carry on underneath, meanwhile. So from your position in the car, in the back of the truck bed, the ball looks like it's going 60 miles an hour. No, you're going 60 miles an hour. It just looks like the ball's doing that. In reality, it goes up and it comes down and you carry on underneath. Like on a roundabout. You spin on the roundabout, you throw the ball and it disappears behind you because you continue to rotate underneath. Now, it might look like the ball's curving away from you, but in reality, it's you on the rotating reference frame. And the ball's gone into a second reference frame. That's how you get your deviation. So, if the ball's an aeroplane, you'd expect to see the Earth rotating underneath if you're in the plane, or an apparent deviation if you're on the ground. Unfortunately, if if the plane is in a second reference frame, then the Earth's rotating underneath and either fighting an Earth turn or continents are coming towards it at an exponential rate, which does not happen. So you've either got two reference frames and planes have got the Earth rotating underneath, or you haven't.
Planes moving, the atmosphere moving with the Earth. So the amount of Coriolis effect on a plane is negligible. I mean, you're going to make larger corrections when correcting for windage.
Sorry,
bear with
me. No, the amount of effect on the plane. There is no effect on the plane. It's an apparent deviation, not actual. So it's not like you can vary the amount of not actual effect. It's a not actual thing, not an actual thing you can vary now. My God. Getting it?
You need to watch the presentation over again, dude.
All we're doing is what was described and summarised you would do in the presentation. Jump back and forth between single and double reference frames. So you've got one reference frame, the Earth and atmosphere travelling as one, when needed. And then when we point out that that doesn't give you a Coriolis effect, you say, well, obviously when I travel north, the Earth rotates underneath. And then you give the speeds that it rotates underneath. And then say, no, it doesn't affect any planes, though, that Earth rotating underneath at different speeds. It's just nonsense. Back and forth, one reference frame, two reference frames, one reference, and we'll just go on forever. You'll do that mental gymnastics indefinitely while we sit here and go, okay, yeah, we've demonstrated it. There isn't this effect. This doesn't happen. That's the bit when you argue that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one. That's you arguing that there isn't an effect, because there isn't an effect. There is no Coriolis. And what you need for Coriolis is the Earth to rotate underneath. It just doesn't.
It's stupid on its face. How can gases rotate? All you have to do is go outside. East, north, and south surface winds. Ends it. And if you look up in the sky, you see the clouds going every which way at different levels of the atmosphere. It ends it. It ends it on a basic fundamental level because gases have no intermolecular bonds. They can't be stuck to the Earth, dude. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe it's me. Yeah, it sounds like you need to get off the main line of fluoride. Sorry, don't mean to insult you, but this is fucking ridiculous to even argue this.
Well, see, there's a big difference between saying I don't believe that Coriolis is real, or saying, but if you're going to use the heliocentric model to prove your point, you have to understand what the heliocentric model is, and clearly you don't. It's just like your drop on Google Maps. I mean, the heliocentric
drop. Can please give us? Yes, I want something other than. Please, hold on. I love it because I forgot all about this. Please, can you tell us something other than elevation or vertical drop? Go.
Tell you something about what? What do you want to know about?
I want to know drop in another context other than elevation vertical. Please, go. That's what I friggin' thought. Unbelievable.
However, on the heliocentric model, opposite ends of Soundley's Bridge are expected to have the same elevation above sea level on a spherical Earth.
Hey Nathan, this is the clown guy. He posted the clown in the middle of the little bridge.
Oh, that was yours. Cool. So you've just said that the elevations are the same on a sphere Earth. Well, then there's
on the heliocentric model, that's what we expect. I mean, sea level, all the way around the sphere.
Yeah, sea level. Yeah, level. Not curving.
Level.
No, level is in check the oil level in your car. Level.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, oil level in my car's level as well. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. That's interesting you should say that. So if I pour oil into my engine, it doesn't matter what's in the way. It doesn't matter if the sump is curved. The top of it is always, as you put it, level. not curving. It's not conforming around any shape in that engine. The oil that sits there at the bottom is always completely level, flat. Yeah, you're right. So how is this conducive to Earth being spherical and having drop? That was the original question.
Well, elevation is above sea level that we use.
Yeah, we heard. Level. Yeah, we all know. Yeah. So you're backing our argument. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yep. You haven't answered the question. I said, give us drop in another context than elevation or vertical.
I guess
When
there is no other context.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, if that's the case, then Google Earth proves the Earth is flat.
Well, if you're talking drop is in the 8 inches per mile squared thing.
Yeah, drop.
That's assuming you're like looking straight off a point on the sphere, but we don't. We look down across the surface of the sphere.
Yeah, those two things are the same. If it's a sphere, it's a sphere. There's drop, right? I don't know what's confusing. Why this is getting long drawn out silences. If there's a drop, there's a drop, right? My God, during the first 70 to 80 debates, we had ballers yelling at us about the drop. Now it's met with silence. Unbelievable.
I mean, all those conversations about curve calculators telling us there is drop. Here's how you calculate it. Here's how you measure it. And now, no, there's no drop.
From the point where you're at, but it's not a drop in elevation.
Yeah. Drop from
What's
the
a drop?
Didn't you just say that there's only vertical drop? Would that not be elevation, buddy? Are you serious? Just contradicted yourself.
Who did? Because if a curve calculator, which the Ball Earth side has always presented as a real thing that you can measure, okay, they have their calculators, they show vertical drop from any point on the surface. They show vertical drop, okay? Now, they will say that elevation is simply the height of something over the surface. But they don't deny that there's drop. Now, all of a sudden, when we ask you what drop is, you say it's elevation. And then they tell us we don't understand the difference.
Yeah. It is a convoluted train wreck. They're just trying to play these linguistic games. It's not even semantics. It's just little linguistic games. They have no idea. I don't even think they know what their name is. What's his name? Ask him if he knows his name and where he is. I'll bet you can't tell you. Clowns.
Did we address that volume definition already?
Oh yeah, I got that written down. I have a lot of stuff written down, by the way, but we have to wait till we close the whole show out.
Let me read it. So is the person that goes by the name of Supercurve in the Discord server?
I don't think so. It could be, but they can have other names here.
That's what I mean. They might have a different handle in Discord.
Yeah, he's not.
You out there, Supercurve? We want to know what that volume is.
He's not in Discord, you're saying?
It seems not.
Where did he ask
the question? If he's in here,
at,
he's not in here under that name.
In the side chat. In the side chat it was mentioned.
Yeah, in the live stream,
in the side chat of the YouTube video, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and put this in. Do we want to go over that volume from Wiki?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll go ahead from Wiki. Citation: volume is the quantity of a three-dimensional space enclosed by a closed surface. For example, the space that a substance, solid, liquid, gas, or plasma, or shape occupies or contains. Volume is often quantified numerically using the SI-derived unit, the cubic meter. The volume of a container is generally understood to be the capacity of the container. That is the amount of fluid, gas or liquid, that the container could hold, rather than the amount of space that the container itself displaces. End of citation.
So apparently you need a container.
Yeah, container. Yeah. That's what we keep asking for, right? So all these people who say, volume doesn't mean you need a container. Oh, right, okay. Well, we're actually asking for something quite specific. That baseless assertion can just be ignored. Oh, but for a demonstration of that gas pressure without a container? Because that's what we're really talking about here, not your definition. Your stupid definition that claims that volume doesn't mean how much of something to press upon. No, of course, that's not what that means, no. Idiots. I just want to see a demonstration. I mean, it's not the one that I hold out the most hope for in the housekeeping questions. That one's the Molten Iron Core, man. I'm really rooting for that one.
Anybody else in Discord? Can they come off mute and share your pain? And another thing, I wish the people that are in Discord or the people with claims, questions, or comments would, I know this is probably too much to ask. Could you actually watch the presentation that was just given before you come out and say, but the latitude lines for the Coriolis effect and the gas molecules are spinning with the Earth? Can you do that for us, please? So it doesn't make you look like a horse's ass. Thanks.
There's only one person unmuted. Everybody else has a mute symbol. Or, okay, two.
I'm happy for there to be a bit of dead air. I'm going to leave this rolling for about another, I don't know, just under 20 minutes, 18 minutes.
I'm muted because my wife's cutting the lawn and it's a little noisy.
Listen, that's amazing. How the hell did you get your wife to cut your lawn?
I claim that I have allergies.
Shit, I'm going to start developing some allergies.
Got him.
Hopefully this isn't going to be recorded.
This is recorded.
I didn't get to watch your whole presentation because I had somebody come to my door. I don't know if there's a way. Normally, when you guys have done live stuff before, while it's live, if I missed something or wanted to go back, I could go back and jump back 5 minutes or so to re-listen to that one little section again. And on the BALLBUSTERS, for some reason, I'm not able to do that. So I don't know if that's on my end or if that's
intentional.
No, go ahead, Nathan.
The reason for that is because occasionally we might have a guest literally who's on camera looking, normal, just decide to expose their breasts to the audience. Or maybe a guest would decide to expose their arse to the audience. Things like that. So for that reason, I turn off the PVR function so you can't actually rewind. So if that does ever happen, it's the audience is only subject to it for a few seconds, and then after the fact, I'll shut the show down so no one can watch it, and then edit that out if it ever happens. So that's the reason.
Okay, that makes sense. I forgot that there's idiots out there that do stuff like that.
Dealing with the public.
Been coming into watching your guys' shows now for quite a while, and there's something that just I do not believe that we're on a spinning ball. It makes no sense, and I don't understand why a lot of people don't look at this from like Occam's razor, the simplest stuff. At night we see lights in the sky. We look up there and they move. And if you pick up a rock and you hold it up and you let it go, it falls down to the ground, and it does so at a particular rate. And they throw math into it, and they came up with, little g and big G and every other G, gravity, gravity, gravity. And then they take that when they have this constant, because it kind of works everywhere here on this plane that we live on, and then they can back math it using algebra and calculus and all that kind of crap, and then claim that because that light in the sky moves from here to there at such a speed, across what we can view it at, they say, okay, it's this big and it's that far away. How do they know? We've never been there. Like it's all, like you say, pseudo math. Like it's all crap. And I took calculus in school and worked with imaginary numbers. I understand that they're used in, electrical engineering and stuff like that, but it's basically to, I guess, give a description of what's happening. Again, it's not necessarily real. And I really wonder why a lot of people just don't figure out the fact that somebody might have just used algebra and figured out that, that light in the sky weighs so much, and it's this big, and it's that far away with these ridiculous numbers. And it just, I don't know, seems crazy stuff to me.
Yeah, well, to quote Red's rhetoric, math is reality. Well, no, it isn't.
What was the last time? Abstract?
Yeah, exactly. This came up a couple of shows back on the debate. Math is based on the abstract and physics is talking about the physical. Well, the abstract is not the physical.
I just remember as a young kid. I'm not a young kid anymore, and I'm into my 50s now. But as a young kid, used to see all the TV pictures of the rockets, and I always wondered why they always ended up rolling over. I thought they were going to space, and it was at that point, just by watching, just observing, there's something wrong with it. Well, we have to get up to speed before we can, exit the gravitational pull of the Earth, 25,000 miles per hour, whatever their magic number is. And it's like, okay, well, how's that rocket going to turn? How's it going to turn to leave the circle if it's stuck in a circle and it's supposedly orbiting? Where's the other rocket to, notch it from the nose in the other direction to get it out of the orbit? It doesn't make any sense. And then I watched live, like when the space shuttle blew up and, that kind of stuff, which is like, wow. And, things like that. And you look at the videos for that they show on TV, and you always hear them, okay, go with rollover. Well, you look at the dang thing. Obviously, it's going to roll over that way. Like if you grabbed a lighter object and a heavier object and were able to, toss it into an arc, the heavier, more dense, whatever you want to call it, is always going to be on the bottom side. It's not going to go on the top side. That sucker's not going to space. It's going to go to the ocean. It's just, Occam's razor. I just don't get why people can't look at some of this stuff and go, wait a sec, this just doesn't look right.
Nah, it's Hanlon's razor. It's Hanlon's razor. Don't attribute to malice what can be explained by ignorance. That left me during the presentation. I knew the damn thing, but it just come back to me. That's Hanlon's razor. This doesn't have anything to do with Occam's razor. And by the way, Occam's razor has nothing to do with scientific evidence.
Well, I was just thinking of just the simplest answer is usually the best. That's where I was going with that. It's
but don't marry it. Don't marry that. It's a heuristic thing. Don't marry that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a good point, though.
Thanks, John.
I mean, about about the like the shuttle, for example. It goes up. They don't put any spin on it when it's just sheer force right out the bottom of the rocket. And it's got this weight on the side. Actually, it has weight on three sides. It has two boosters and the shuttle itself. But like you said, there's no lateral rocket burst. There's the ailerons on the shuttle are not moving. There's no way that thing should lay down unless you put it vertically and the heavy side goes down. Or pointed horizontally, I'm sorry. So the fact that it's not going up straight, the fact that it turns over is telling you that it's not going up straight, I meant to say. So it is going in an arc, like we think, like that one video of that little kid saying it's coming back down, it's going to crash. The kid was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously when I'm talking about
I don't know,
oh god. Are you related to chocolate?
Well, I think sometimes people don't hear right away. Actually.
Right.
Yeah,
John.
John.
When I'm talking about Occam's razor, yeah, I know chocolate. Thanks. When I'm talking about Occam's razor, I'm talking about obviously there's a lot of topics, right? There's a lot of subjects, right? So when I'm talking about this, I'm just saying in general, right? Some things you can reconcile with Occam's razor quite easily. Others you can't. You follow?
Can I give an example?
I appreciate the correction on that.
There's an applicable.
Not trying to be ignorant or rude, but
I know you're not.
Just looking at this stuff, and it's like, why do people just not, use their eyes and observe this stuff?
That's what I was going to. That's exactly what I was going to say. Sorry to interrupt.
With my dad.
I just want to give an example. Sorry.
I used to live on Vancouver Island.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Uncle Bob? I just want to make an example because obviously you've used Occam's razor and then it sounded like you've just been berated like it's not useful. But, there is application and you immediately skirted to it. I just wanted to make an example. I'm sorry to interrupt you. So, yeah, when you've got, for example, a building that's, shout out to Ranty Flat Earth, 18 miles away, you just see it, it's just there. Well, if you've got a position being put forth that it's looming above the horizon, it's being projected up from behind Earth curve based on a reification of a model, well then Occam's razor is applicable. Well, which one do you want to prefer? You just see it, or it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena projection from beyond Earth's curve based on a reification fallacy model? Well, yeah, Occam's razor. Yeah, the simplest explanation, you just see it because you just see it.
Yeah, I just I just appreciate John correcting me because I know that he doesn't like, nonsense stuff, and I'm trying to be polite. And it's the first time that I've been on one of your after shows talking. I did talk to some people in the Discord in, like private chats and stuff like that. I was just going to say, like as a kid, I used to go fishing with my dad. I used to live on Vancouver Island, and there's a ferry that went from Vancouver Island to a town that was called Powell River. And it's about a 34-mile crossing. And I used to fish on the beach with my dad when I was probably about 7 or 8 and trying to catch whatever we could out of the ocean there. And I used to watch the ferry. It takes like an hour and a half or so, hour 45 minutes for the crossing. And on days where, the clarity of the atmoplane is nice and clear, I could watch the ferry the entire way and watch it pull into the dock. And it's 34 miles.
That's wow. That's awesome, man.
Right there. I'm actually going, I live in northern British Columbia right now, but my mom still lives on Vancouver Island, and I'm going to go back there to visit her. We're supposed to be on the road today, but my son kind of buggered up our travels, and we're not going to get away for a month. But I'm going to go and take a picture. There also used to be a pulp mill there. It's now no longer there, but used to be able to see the pulp mill. It was like right there, just on the other side. You could see the entire thing. And it's like...
Can I ask, was that naked eye? You could see that?
No, my
Or
dad had
did
a
you?
little set of binoculars. I mean, like it's pretty far away type things, 34 miles. But I mean, you could naked eye,
Sure,
you
sure.
could see the pulp mill, like the steam and whatever that comes off of it. But the ferry, I could see the ferry naked eye. You know, because it's
While it was docked.
well, it's docked. You know, and I'm
Wow.
gonna go back and
34
see if I
miles
can get
away,
a
naked
get a
eye.
picture
That's
of that.
Now,
You
I got
know,
a question
and
for you. How old were you?
probably 7.
When did you say 7 years old?
Watch the ferry, and you could tell that it got into the dock. You know, like
Did you say
not on every day that I was there. There was, you know, like a couple of days where it's like, oh, there's the ferry, made it there. You know, my dad would say,
how
yep,
old
it
were
sure
you?
did.
Yeah,
7
show us
or
a
so.
picture of that. Show us a picture.
Well,
How old were, let me say
I
this for
don't
the
have a
10th time.
picture of it. I'm going to go back
Maybe you'll
there. Like I say, I'm going
7.
back there. I
How
don't
old were
live
you?
there
You
now,
didn't
but
see any ferry pulling into a dock at 34 miles. I'm just kidding.
Holy,
I
can
mean,
you shut up? Can you shut up? Is that Zanuck? I must have asked him how many times, like 10 times, how old he was. That's all I wanted to know.
you know, it's just one thing that I remembered
Oh
seeing
my God.
as a kid, and now I've gotten interested in what is the shape of the Earth? Where do we live?
Just out of
What
interest,
is
Uncle
all
Bob.
of this stuff?
Uncle Bob, how old were you when you watched the ferry?
I was about 7.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't think John can hear him, or he can hear John.
He can't hear me?
I don't think he can.
Yeah, no, I hear you, John. I hear you, John.
Oh, well, he kept asking you for like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Well,
Here's
no,
my question.
I did answer. I said I was about 7.
Yeah, I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
you
I'm
did
sorry.
answer.
Okay, here's my
John
question
didn't.
in response to that. When you seen that at 7 years old, what did you think? Did it hit you then, or no? You just okay, yeah, I see it, and
No,
went on fishing.
I just saw that the ferry got there. You know, like just like that. It's like, oh, the ferry got there, and never thought anything of it. But now I look
That's
back
what I was getting.
and you know,
That's what I was getting at. Thanks.
you put these pieces together, and you go, hey, well, that shouldn't happen. You know, it's like it shouldn't be. You know, now it's not like I could read the writing on it. There's like a little dot, but you could see it over there. And like I said, I'm going to go back and the ferry place is built up a little bit there, so I don't know if I'm hoping that I can get back to the same spot and see if I can find that, because you know that really sticks out in my mind. It's like that's amazing, and it shouldn't be so.
Very cool. And with that, I think I'm round out this after show. So I was going to say first and foremost, of course, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's after show panel on Discord. And again, a massive thank you to all of the Ballbusters for making this after show possible. If you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley Premium stream, then of course a huge massive thank you to you for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum, which you should definitely join. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next Ballbusters.